GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
A very, very good afternoon to you, beautiful people. It's 3 p.m. Welcome to the Mizen and Daubney show here on GB News. We're broadcasting for you live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. Here's what's coming up on today's action-packed show.
They failed on our borders. We're taking control of our borders. I'm proud that we're doing so.
Well, a damning official report out today claims the Home Office has no idea how many asylum seekers have simply gone missing in Britain. Billions of pounds have been splurged, wasted, and claims that half of asylum cases can take more than 3 years to process. We'll be discussing the latest, how the lunatics once again taken over our asylum system. And a grime rapper who randomly murdered the gentle giant Jimmy Mizen in a bakery in 2008 could be freed on parole before Christmas. On today's show, I'll be joined by Jimmy's mother, Margaret, who says we're just praying that they do the right thing.
People travelling public transport, buses, they must wear it.
If you want to wear one, then I think it's best to. And if you think you're going to make other people sick, then why would you not wear one?
Masks back. Backlash is growing after the public has been advised to wear face masks in public spaces by a senior NHS leader as the so-called super flu sweeps the nation. Today we'll discuss whether face coverings should return or are they a complete waste of time. And British boozers are on death row, and now a group of rogue landlords have banned Labour Party MPs from their pubs. I'll be joined by a governor who's barred their local Labour MP, and plus I'll be crossing live to the Reform Arms in Blackpool, who say we don't want to ban Labour MPs. In fact, Keir Starmer is welcome to pop in for a pint. That's all coming up in your next hour. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. It's Wednesday, so I'm joined in the studio by Nigel Nelson for 3 hours of political bickering. Today, the breaking news this past few moments. Apparently, the ECHR have agreed to allow the 28 nations who went to Strasbourg today to tweak the ECHR agreement and to say, once and for all, stop us from having Rwanda-style deals. But isn't it funny how David Lammy is there, Lord Hermer is there. The Labour Party blocked a Rwanda-style deal, the Rwanda deal, on day one of office. And do you even trust the ECHR? Will tweaking it make any difference? Or is the only answer leaving the ECHR particularly pertinent on a day when new asylum figures are simply showing it's totally and utterly out of control, no matter what our Prime Minister Keir Starmer said today at PMQs. Simply don't know how many people in this country. We have no idea where they're from, no idea how much it costs, and no idea whether any of this will ever end. And what do you think about barring Labour MPs from your local boozer? Let us know your thoughts, gbnews.com/your say, or you can use that QR code on your screens right now if you're that way inclined. Now it's time for your headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Martin. Good afternoon to you. 3 minutes past 3 here in the GB newsroom. A man's been convicted of murdering a woman and her 3 children in a house fire in Bradford. Shiraz Ali killed Bryony Gawith and her children Dennisty, Oscar and Aubrey, aged between 22 months and 9 years, in a revenge attack when Bryony's sister Antonia ended their relationship. Prosecutors said Ali, who used petrol to cite the Homelite, was motivated by jealousy and fuelled by drink and drugs during the incident in August last year. His accomplice, Callum Sunderland, was found guilty of 4 counts of manslaughter for breaking into the home where Antonia had been staying. A British soldier killed on duty in Ukraine has been named by the Ministry of Defence as 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. Sir Keir Starmer paid tribute to him earlier, saying Mr Hooley was injured in a tragic accident away from the front lines while observing Ukrainian forces testing a new defensive capability. The 46 member states signed up to the European Convention of Human Rights have agreed to negotiate a new approach to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. It follows a meeting of justice ministers in Strasbourg, where ministers say they intend to work together on the interpretation of the ECHR treaty and how it relates to migration. Council of Europe Secretary-General Alain Berset told reporters work will begin to adopt a declaration in Moldova in May next year. The Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, who attended the meeting, says the definition of family life should not be stretched to prevent the removal of people with no right to remain in the country. A new report from the National Audit Office shows that fewer than 1 in 10 asylum seekers whose claims are rejected are actually deported from the UK. The report's also heavily critical of the Home Office and its monitoring, stating robust data gathering is not a priority and there's a culture of tolerating and working around data that's not fit for purpose. It goes on to find the Home Office has no idea how many asylum seekers have gone missing since arriving in the country. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has asked why Labour backbenchers are calling Sir Keir Starmer a caretaker Prime Minister. He responded with a defence of Labour's budget and says Miss Badenoch's the one trying to save her job. Now, Rachel Reeves says the amount of leaks in the run-up to the budget was unacceptable and damaging. The Chancellor told the Commons Select Committee departmental security is being looked at as part of an internal investigation and insisted a Financial Times story which revealed she dropped plans for an income tax rise in the budget was based on a leak rather than an authorised briefing.
And he's not the sort of journalist who...
It was not an off-the-record briefing, it was a leak.
You're really clear it was a leak.
I'm absolutely categorical that that was not an authorised briefing. It was incredibly damaging and frustrating. That is why we have a leak inquiry. It was not briefing that was signed off by me, any of my ministers or officials. It was unacceptable. That is why there is a leak inquiry going on.
France's presidential frontrunner Jordan Bardella has moved to forge an alliance with the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage. It's in an effort to restore Europe's borders after the pair held talks in London yesterday. Mr Bardella, the leader of the National Rally Party, pledged to change France's border policy to support Britain in tackling the small boats crisis should he secure victory in next year's election. Finally, Sophie Kinsella, the author of the best-selling Shopaholic series of novels, has died at the age of 55. The writer, whose real name was Madeline Sophie Wickham, revealed last year she had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer. A statement posted to her Instagram account read, "We're heartbroken to announce the passing this morning of our beloved Sophie. She died peacefully, with her final days filled with her true love's family and music and warmth and Christmas and joy." Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 3:30.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Quick look at the finances for you. The markets, the pound buys you $1.33 and a euro at 15. The price of gold is £3,148 and 44 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100 trading at 9,668 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
It's already kicking off in the ad break, and we haven't even started with Nigel Nelson. Now, a new report from the National Audit Office out today has found that fewer than 1 in 10 asylum seekers whose claims are rejected are actually deported from the UK. But worse, the report also found that the Home Office has no idea whatsoever how many asylum seekers have simply gone walkabout, simply gone missing in the country since arriving on our shores. And also the true cost of supporting people seeking asylum hit an astonishing £4.9 billion last year, the report concluding a lot of this money is simply squandered. We have no idea where people are, no idea what it truly costs, and no real proof it's even working. Well, let's now speak with GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, once again, how many times we said on the show the lunatics have taken over the asylum? Sir Keir Starmer at PMQs valiantly saying we've taken back control of our borders. This report today says the precise opposite.
Well, it's evident from the National Audit Office, critics of the government's policy around immigration and asylum for some time have been saying, and that is it's a system in disarray. We can bring you some breaking news this hour. This has come from our reporter Will Godley with regard to the plans by the government to house asylum seekers at the Crowborough Training Centre, that military establishment in East Sussex. They have this afternoon launched a judicial review, or at least a bid to have a judicial review heard into those plans by the government to house some 500, more than 500 young male asylum seekers in that rural location, which has really galvanised people in that area. They are absolutely livid and very concerned about the potential for these young men to be housed at this military training camp. We've had patrols of local people that have been taking place in that area awaiting the potential for migrants to arrive there. And now this move, a legal move by the residents in Crowborough, Martin, that is potentially problematic for the government, because the reason being is the move towards military establishments and other sort of bigger, more austere bases is the kind of proposal that the government wants to take up and run with to get themselves out of the terrible hole they're in at the moment, with housing some 36,000 asylum seekers in hotels and many more in dispersal accommodation around the country. So this was their next big plan, was to try to open up lots of these particular camps, if you like, within either military bases or other suitable sites. But if we get a challenge that goes against the government here, that whole policy could be in disarray.
OK, Mark White, as I understand it, the judicial review here has been applied because there's been no basic planning application done by the Home Office. They haven't done the correct paperwork. They haven't done the correct risk assessment. This is a residential area. It won't be fenced off, as I understand it. Having spoken with locals, people could simply wander around the village. There's no impact of safety, no impact on local facilities. And once again, it's total and utter chaos.
Yes, and we've heard this issue around planning consent before. It was used by the people of, the Essex town where the Bell Hotel was, as a way in which, of course, to try to get a High Court decision there. And initially they did get a successful decision to prevent asylum seekers being housed in this Essex hotel, all because the local council said that, as far as they were concerned, the hotel group, the Amani group, had not gone through the proper planning process for what effectively, they said, amounted to a change of use. Of course, that substantive hearing just in recent weeks went against the local council, but it's certainly an avenue that's open to local residents and councils to potentially challenge. And here, as you say, they are accusing the Home Office of just not doing the appropriate work in trying to determine whether this is a suitable site to house these young male asylum seekers.
Mark White, they're not solving the problem, they're moving the problem, and they haven't even solved the problem where they're planning to sort it out. Mark White, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Let's get some reaction now in the studio. Of course, I'm with Nigel Nelson. Nigel, you're hearing here that Crowborough, we've had the residents on the programme before. This was dropped upon them. They weren't consulted. The correct planning, the correct due diligence hasn't been done. It won't be fenced off. It's a total and utter dog's dinner. And that's on top of this damning report today. Billions of pounds splurged, 50% of the cases taking longer than 3 years. These lads, it's going to be military men. These lads could be in these containment camps for 3 years in these areas. That's what the Home Office's own data says today. And I put it to you, they haven't got a Scooby-Doo what they're playing at.
Well, first of all, It's no surprise that local residents object to having several hundred asylum seekers on their doorstep. It happens absolutely everywhere. Whenever we try and put asylum seekers anywhere, there's an objection, whether it be a hotel, whether it be a military base, there's always going to be an objection. Yeah, it's right to have a judicial review. Let's see if it's the right place to actually house them. So that part's fine. But I don't know how we get over the problem of objections. If you're going to put them somewhere, you've got to find somewhere to put them.
Well, let's put them in the constituencies of all the MPs that say refugees are welcome. How about that?
Well, that's fine.
Zach Polanski's street.
If they have a suitable...
in the Green Party street, Jeremy Corbyn street,
if they have
Keir
a suitable
street,
if they have a suitable ex-air base or military base that they can use, of course put them there. But I bet you find that even the residents there would object to something
Nobody
like
ever
this.
voted for this. Nobody ever chose
Nobody
this.
ever voted
nobody ever had a voice
across.
since 2010 and way before. We've voted time and time again to take back control of our borders and stop this. And the government's solution has been abject and provable failure. And not only that, the liberal political classes are dumping it on working class communities who never, ever get a voice. It's a total disgrace.
Well, anybody who's going to have asylum seekers put next door to them will get a voice, but they're going to object. They're bound to object. And as far as controlling
Even the Green Party, deputy leader has objected to this. No illegals in my backyard, and yet her party is in favour of open borders. The political class are total hypocrites.
Brexit didn't actually control our borders either. I mean, that was meant to be. We were meant to be able to stop immigration through Brexit. It didn't work. It just got worse. This is a problem that will go on. The best we can hope for is that we will reduce the number of people coming over by boat, and somehow
when's that going to happen? Well, it's getting worse.
No, well, it's actually not. It's getting better, but it's not getting better fast enough. The numbers aren't going down overall, but we are actually returning people. We have got fewer boat crossings.
A handful of illegal
as an example, I mean, 21,000 in the last 12 months.
3.5% since 2018.
21,000 boat crossings have been thwarted over the last year. So that's a start, but it hasn't actually changed the overall numbers because more and more keep coming. That's why it's such a big problem. That's why that meeting in Strasbourg is taking place today.
Yeah, well, if anything comes out there, it'll be a total miracle. More on that later. Let's now speak with the research director at the Centre for Migration Control, Rob Bates. Rob, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to have your company. This will come as no surprise to you. Billions of pounds wasted, untold amounts of people simply gone walkabout within the country, and it's taken more than 3 years to sort more than half of these cases. And meanwhile, they don't even know how to apply for planning in Crowborough.
Yeah, the asylum system is falling apart in front of our very eyes. The cost, the asylum budget has increased near sevenfold since 2019. We're now seeing 5 billion spent in the last year. That's 17 billion spent since 2019. And what are we actually getting for that money? Just more and more chaos. And this report, this National Audit Office report, is incredibly damning about the way that the Home Office is approaching this issue. It's very lazy when it comes to collecting data. It's not really concerned about the overall picture. You've got silos operating within the Home Office, every individual just concerned about their own part of that. And the real problem here, and the real reason why we have such a huge backlog and so many numbers that we have to deal with, is simply because we are not in a legal footing where we can remove a very large number of individuals. So the government is constantly talking about increasing the returns of people. A lot of them are going to very, very safe countries. They're going to Eastern European countries. They're going to places like Brazil, but we're not tackling the fundamentals here, which is we just simply don't have at the moment, as long as we're in the ECHR and the Refugee Convention, the ability to return people to places like Afghanistan or Eritrea. There is a very remote chance of those removals ever taking place as long as we stay inside those international conventions. And this is really a problem of our own doing, in that we've not been prepared as a country to have the conversation about the legal restraints that are holding us back. We also need to look, of course, at what the Conservative Party did, where they quite rightly said anyone coming into the country illegally would never be able to claim asylum. But that simply meant, again, because they were staying within these international conventions, those individuals from places like Afghanistan just simply weren't being removed, and there was no place to return them to. So it's a cacophony of problems. And unfortunately, as always, it's the British taxpayer that has to pick up the tab, and it's small, tranquil communities around the country that are having hundreds of young men dumped on their doorstep, possibly to just disappear into black economy and to cause goodness knows what havoc. So I think it's about time we put the national interest first when it comes to talking about our asylum system, and to hell with international obligations.
Rob Bates, can I get your opinion on breaking news this past hour? And that is the European countries have said to the European Convention on Human Rights in Strasbourg today, David Lammy and Lord Hermer are there, and they're applying to the goodwill of the ECHR to renegotiate a different approach that will allow the European states to have offshore containment. That takes 46 nations who are all a part of this to sign off on it. Are you in any way convinced that tweaking the convention can get us out of this mess?
No, and how many times have we heard in recent years sort of a grand renegotiation at the European level is taking place and it's going to fundamentally change the paradigm in which certain decisions are being taken? None of this ever amounts to anything. And I think this is unfortunately another case of us being spun a lot of hope. We saw it a lot with the Conservative Party when it came to European Union membership. And I think, unfortunately, this will just be another reflection of the Labour Party doing the same with the ECHR. And, you know, when it comes to family life, there is maybe a little bit of wiggle room for a renegotiation there. But I can't see how they get anywhere near Article 3, the right to avoid degrading and inhumane treatment. That is an absolute right. So I don't think there's a cat's chance here in Hades that will actually be renegotiated. And then, of course, we're not having any conversation at the moment about other international treaties like the Refugee Convention, and that will stay very much as a straitjacket in which asylum policy is conducted going forward until someone's prepared to say we're leaving that as well.
OK, Rob Bates, thanks for your opinion as ever. Truly appreciate it. Nigel Nelson, you were shaking your head furiously during that segment there. So you do have faith that the ECHR will suddenly spring into action and come to our help?
No, the point basically is that Article 3, which is about torture and prison conditions and healthcare as well. So, in fact, you can tweak that. You could actually say that just because somebody claims that prison conditions in their home country are worse than this one, they can't go home. You tweak that, then they could go home. When it comes down to Afghanistan, ECHR has got nothing to do with this. It won't help by leaving it.
So why can't we sort that out now?
Well, the reason we can't sort it out is because we don't recognise the Taliban government. So we have no diplomatic relations.
Germany's got a deal with Afghanistan. Why can't we do one?
Well, we haven't got one at the moment. So yes,
because we haven't got the guts to do it.
Well, it's a matter for the government to actually get a deal. But at the moment, we don't recognise the Taliban government, and that means we have no removals agreement to Afghanistan. That's our problem.
46 nations are a part of the ECHR. 28 have gone with their caps in their hand to Strasbourg today. I put it to you, the remaining nations will say, well, why should we help? And if they want our help, what's it going to cost? If you're from the countries who aren't after this deal today, like Ukraine or like Slovakia, you might say, I'll tell you what, if you want to send your asylum seekers to be processed here, give us untold billions of pounds. They've got us by the short and curlies.
Well, I think it's unlikely we're going to start ending up with having to pay to get countries to agree. There's no reason why...
Of course they want money.
Immigration...
Why would they take a processing centre on their soil without a big fat cheque from the British taxpayer?
They won't any more than we take a processing centre on our soil. The whole point is that's one of the other difficulties.
We haven't got any processing centres on our soil.
Exactly.
If we hadn't, we are halfway towards sorting this out.
We are looking to try and find centres where we can do offshore processing. Italy's run into problems with Albania, and Albania and Italy are really close.
Yeah, well... It hasn't borne any fruit yet, and I put it to you, this is yet more carrots being dangled with no crunch to them. Nigel Nelson, a cracking start to the show. And just to let you know more than that breaking news story that Crowborough residents are to launch a judicial review against the Home Office over its plans to house migrants in their town. And we're going to get hold of a Crowborough resident on the show for you to get their immediate response to that. Victory for the locals for now. A judicial review granted because it appears the Home Office didn't even bother with the basic planning or risk assessment. Also coming next, British boozers say they're on death row. And now a group of rogue landlords have banned their Labour Party MPs from their boozers. We'll be speaking to landlords about this on GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. Just a reminder that breaking news line, it's a major line that Crowborough residents have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army base in their town. And I should be speaking with a local resident very shortly. A victory for the meantime for the residents there in Crowborough. Now, moving on, around 50 pub landlords say they'll ban Labour Party MPs from their pubs amid a furious backlash over steep business rate hikes, and they warn that they threaten their very, very survival. Well, let's now speak with GB News national reporter Will Godley, who is at the Melbourne Inn in Derbyshire, and also GB News national reporter Jack Carson, who is at the Goat's Head pub in Stafford. Jack, you're always in a pub when I speak to you. I've got job envy. Tell us what the landlord there telling you today, mate.
I always get the good jobs done, Martin, but of course there is a lot of worry all around the industry, particularly about what the impact of the budget is going to be. We know from a report from UK Hospitality, over the next 3 years, business rate bills could rise more than £300 million across the small hospitality sector. Ian Hillman joins us now. He's the pub landlord. I'm going to pull a pint in the meantime, Martin, really get into the spirit and know what it's like to be a pub landlord. Ian, tell us while I'm doing this, what is it like, being a pub landlord at the moment? What were your feelings after the budget?
I mean, it's hard work, and then obviously the cost pressures just add to that. It's just we've been campaigning since the spring for help, and we've just had the opposite. Increase in minimum wage, increase in alcohol duty, and increase in business rates. And
just tell us how important it is a pub to the local community. Just exactly what does it mean?
Yeah. Well, they're vital. I mean, especially rural occasions like this. I mean, we're lucky we've got 4 here, but they're hubs where people meet. For casual drinks or events. Local groups meet here, so it'd be a shame if we lose them.
And you've got lots of different things to contend with now. You've got alcohol duty, national living wage going up. You also obviously had the employer national contributions last year. So just exactly what do you think the impact is going to be? Is it a case of a pint is going to have to go up in your pub?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, beer duty alone will send your pint up. But with all the other costs, it's going to be hundreds of pounds difference every week.
And what could the government do? What are some of the things that a government could do to really make your life easier, make the pub industry thrive again?
We just need a level playing field. We need to reduce a reduction in VAT, so we're level with supermarkets, help with energy bills, help with rateable value. That's the only way it's going to survive.
All right, Ian, thanks so much for joining us. Would that get me a job?
No.
Oh, OK. Well, it still tastes delicious, Martin. And, of course, as you heard there, these pubs are struggling. But, of course, it's all about the local community coming out to support them as well.
OK, it's better you get back to the right side of the bar, pouring a pint like that, Jack Carlson. Let's get now to Will Godley, who's at the Melbourne Inn there in Derbyshire. Will, pubs really, really feeling the pinch. What are they telling you there in Derbyshire?
Well, we're hearing lots from locals here, Martin. Good afternoon to you. I don't dare pour a pint here. I'd very much embarrass myself in front of this pub full of locals who tell me it's the lifeblood of the community. In fact, I've been speaking to people here who first came to this pub 50 years ago and spoke to some other people in the community, never met them before, over a pint, and ever since then, for the last 50 years, have been best friends. And that is some of the stories coming out of this pub here in Melbourne, in Derbyshire, just about how important this pub is for the community. And I'm sure many people watching and listening will be able to resonate with that, just how important it is. But the problem we're hearing here from the landlord is that it's just increasingly more and more tricky to operate. Deej, you run this pub here. You have done for nearly a year now. You're celebrating your one-year anniversary in just 3 days' time. But what have been some of the struggles you faced over the last 12 months?
Certainly hiking prices all the time. We're seeing constant price rises. We've already done it twice. We don't want to be going down that road even more. So yeah, it's just getting silly.
And many pub landlords, since the budget 2 weeks ago today, concerned about the measures announced for pubs in that budget. What do you think will be most damaging for you?
Again, I think it's overall, it's the price hiking. It needs to stop. We need to be not freezing, we need to be reducing, just to get that market stimulated again, get people coming back into the pubs, back where they belong, socialising. Yeah.
And Deej, in terms of how troubling the last 12 months have been for you, you've told me you've not yet made a penny of profit over the last year, despite the fact there's only about 3 or 4 weeks left of the year, not a penny profit. The fact that things are only going to get worse, we're hearing, must make you incredibly worried.
It certainly does. I mean, we've come here to make a home. We know we're not going to be millionaires in the pub trade. It's not about that. It's about opening a place where community comes. It's in your blood. Your pub is in your blood, basically. If you're running a pub, that's what you do. You're not here to make a career. It's a life choice. However, we do need support and we do need help.
And Deej, you were telling me your number one rule, we're breaking it today, is no talking politics in the pub. Some pubs across the country today, we're hearing, are banning Labour MPs from entering their pub. You've told me you wouldn't do the same. Why not?
Again, like I said, it's get them into the pubs, show them what's happening, give them a taste of reality, come into a pub, see what friends you can pick up, and be part of the community spirit is the way forward.
Well, Martin, the feeling here in Derbyshire is that people in Westminster don't know what local pubs are about. The Treasury, though, have told us in a statement that we're protecting pubs, restaurants and cafes with the budget's £4.3 billion support package. They went on to tell us that this comes on top of their efforts to ease licensing, to help more venues offer pavement drinks and put one-off events, maintaining our cut to alcohol duty on draft pints and by capping corporation tax. But the message here is that they want to see a reduction in the cost of pints to ensure people keep coming to their local.
Thank you, Will Godley and Deej there in Derbyshire. Thank you to Jack Carlson as well. And Will, I love the fact the local boy behind you there just kept on swigging his pint without even paying any attention to what was going on. That's what business is all about. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And later on the show, I'll be speaking to a landlord who has barred a politician from his pub. And also, I'll be going to the Talbot Arms. That's the Reform pub in Blackpool. They said to Keir Starmer, it's welcome for a pint any time, so long as he buys. Let's get a word from you, Nigel Nelson. Pubs are on the floor. Successive governments have done scant, if anything, to help them.
Well, I disagree completely. The first stage is that one of the biggest problems they're facing is they had 40% off their business rates during COVID. That comes to an end next April. It was always going to come to an end. That was an emergency measure. The idea that that could be permanent was absolute nonsense. Pubs are a business like anything else. There's no reason why they should get different treatment from, say, farmers. Well, what about farmers?
Yeah.
Farmers complain about stuff. Not everyone can have their own particularly different treatment. I'm sure that the pubs are struggling. It's very difficult. A lot of businesses are struggling.
But since that rate cut, they've also hiked national insurance. They've hiked the minimum wage
for all businesses
and given workers more rights. No, but
and that's for all businesses.
Hospitality requires more on casual labour, on short-term contracts.
It does, but how many exceptions do you want to make? Look, I sympathise with the publicans.
This government doesn't care about pubs. That's what I think.
Well,
I mean the Puritans.
But the various measures that you've outlined there apply to all businesses. It's not just pubs, and pubs are getting that £4 billion extra in transitional relief. What that means is it'll keep business rates down, or it'll just cap them anyway.
Okay, ding. Last orders for now, Nigel, but we'll return to this later on in the show. Now, still to come, more on that big breaking news story that residents in Crowborough are to launch a judicial review against the Home Office over its plans to house migrants in their town on that military barracks. No one was ever consulted there. I'll be speaking with a local resident soon, but first, here's your news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Very good afternoon to you. Our headlines from the GB newsroom. A man's been found guilty of murdering his ex-girlfriend's sister and her 3 children in a house fire in Bradford. Sharaz Ali carried out the arson attack after his ex-partner Antonia Gawain left him and went to stay with her sister Bryony, who died in the fire. European countries, including the UK, have agreed to take a new approach to the continent's human rights treaty, the ECHR, in an effort to tackle illegal migration. Ministers of the 46 states signed up to it will now work towards adopting a political declaration at a summit next May. A new report from the National Audit Office shows fewer than 1 in 10 asylum seekers whose claims are rejected are actually deported from the UK. A British soldier killed on duty in Ukraine has been named as 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. And the author of the Shopaholic series of novels, Sophie Kinsella, has died at the age of 55. The writer revealed last year she'd been diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 4.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Winds now slowly easing as Storm Bram moves away. Dry for most through the rest of the day, aside for some parts of central and northern Scotland. That's where we still have a strong westerly breeze, bringing in frequent showers, if not longer spells of rain heading into the afternoon and evening, particularly for parts of central and northwest Scotland. The wind staying strong until after midnight, so still the risk of 70-75 mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then overnight those winds coming down. Clear spells developing through the night time. Thicker cloud always to the north and west, but the best of the clear spells will be towards the southeast, where temperatures will dip to 5 or 6 Celsius first thing Thursday, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. A few mist patches here and there. Thicker cloud, though, already starting to arrive once again into Scotland for the west, bringing some spots of rain into the Western Isles. Breeze picking up again as well. Some sunshine through the Highlands as well as through the central belt. You can see, though, cloud rolling into the north and west of England, Northern Ireland and West Wales. Some sunshine there for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but we've also got an area of cloud moving up from the Channel that will turn things grey once again across the south. And increasingly, we're going to see the cloud in the west bring outbreaks of rain to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, eventually West Wales, the far southwest of Cornwall. The breeze picking up here as well, but once again, it's a mild day for many, not quite as mild as it has been, 12, 13 Celsius in places, and still some sunshine as we end the afternoon across the Midlands, eastern England. So a few clear spells overnight in the east and Northern Ireland, seeing the skies clearing as this slow-moving weather front makes its way in from the west to the east. That's going to bring some damp weather to the east first thing Friday, brightening up later. A fine start to the weekend, unsettled later.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest-growing news website in the nation, because the truth matters, and so do you.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists are advised to take extra care on the M90 Friarton Bridge due to high winds. The A55 Britannia Bridge remains affected by high winds until further notice. In Cumbria, lanes are closed on the A595 northbound due to a vehicle fire near Whitehaven. In Surrey, a road collision on the M25 clockwise between junctions 13 and 14 has closed 2 lanes. A broken down vehicle on the A30 westbound has resulted in 1 lane closure. And on the trains, disruptions are on Great Western Railway routes and between Highbury and Islington and Stratford on the London Overground. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back now. Let's go back to that breaking news story, and that's the Crowborough residents have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army base in their town. And a spokesperson from Crowborough Shield Community Interest Company has told GB News this. We can confirm that just after 2 p.m. today, on behalf of the people of Crowborough, we have issued proceedings against the Home Secretary in respect of her decision to house migrants at Crowborough Camp. And we are seeking judicial review to overturn this decision. Well, joining us now is the Crowborough resident, Kim Bailey. Kim, welcome to the show. A significant breakthrough for the residents of Crowborough. You've applied directly to the Home Office and say you will not take this base in your town. Tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah, it feels really good. I mean, and it's absolutely testament to all the people that have been working on this. So obviously, as the chair of Crowborough Shield, one of the directors, there's Alex de Warren as well. But this isn't just about 2 people bringing a case. This is about a whole town coming together. You know, a lot of people have worked so hard to get this over the line so quickly. And it's just absolutely amazing that we've been able to do it so quickly. So yeah, we are excited to be bringing it, to be saying to the Home Secretary, you know, this isn't a national security issue. You cannot just bypass every law and decide to do what you want to do. And it should be challenged, and that's what we're doing.
And Kim Bailey, for the benefit of GB News viewers and listeners, can you outline for us the concerns of locals in Crowborough about having so many men dumped on your area?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is there's been no consultation whatsoever. So we have absolutely no idea what the plans are, risk assessments. There's been absolutely nothing. Impact assessments. The Home Office and Wealdon District Council were operating in complete secrecy away from anybody in the town. And so we literally have no idea what is happening. You've got Alex Norris, the minister, who's basically told us that Wealdon District Council will get 48 hours notice before the asylum seekers go in. But yet even Wealdon District Council, as far as we know, haven't received any information on safety, impact assessments, extra resources, nothing. So the whole thing has just kind of been smashed through without any due regard or any consideration for anything, essentially. The forest, the people, nothing. And the cadets, obviously, the cadets have just been, you know, kicked out of their lifelong training camp to make way for this. It's disproportionate and it's unacceptable.
Kim, is it also about something else? It's about a political class who make decisions divorced from the reality of locals such as yourselves, and a liberal policy suddenly becomes a problem for people like you with there being no consultation whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and I hope that that's what we can, at the bare minimum, is show is that people aren't just going to sit back and, you know, you're an elected government. You're not going to just, people are not just going to sit back and allow decisions to be made where it's not in the best interest of the people. So it's a fundamental right to be able to challenge. And what the Home Secretary, the Home Office, Wealdon District Council have been doing is saying, you can't challenge us.
OK, well, Kim Bailey there, Crowborough resident, thank you for speaking with us, and let's make sure we stay in touch here at GB News throughout this process. And we've approached the Home Office, just to let you know, for a statement. We haven't got that yet, but when we get it, we will get it to our viewers. Kim Bailey, thank you very much for joining us. Let's get my next guest in now. I'm delighted to be joined by the human rights lawyer, David Hay. David, a pleasure to have your company. Does it come as any surprise to you, David, that the Home Office doesn't seem to have gone through the basic due diligence of going through planning assessments or even risk assessments on the local? They seem to be flying blind into this.
Good afternoon, Martin. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. They've done it before, and they're doing it in this case, and they'll do it again. I think the judicial review is a very, very interesting option for the local community to take. And just, so your viewers and listeners know what a judicial review is. It's a little bit different to someone taking someone to court. A judicial review means where an interested party, in this case, obviously the community, have asked a judge to review the decisions of a public body, whether it's the government or the council. And so that will be very, very interesting. First of all, they need to get permission to actually proceed with that. And if they get permission, there'll be a substantive hearing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this is dealt with, because, of course, it has an impact on other areas where similar things are happening and have happened in the past.
And we saw that with the Bell Hotel in Epping, David Hay. The local residents there went on a planning issue. That was overturned because the Home Office, as damn sure as much as they all know, if there's a result, a victory in Crowborough, then everybody around the nation will start to try and replicate their legal action. David, as I have you here, could I also get your opinion, please, on David Lammy and Lord Hermer in Strasbourg today, trying to get the European Convention on Human Rights to see their way of thinking, trying to get them to tweak, to disapply certain parts of the rulings to allow Britain to have offshore containment centres. Do you think they've got a hope in hell of getting anything out of Strasbourg?
I mean, I think, Martin, I think the simplest way to say, it's too little too late, really. And, I won't say much about, I think Lord Hermer's a very good lawyer, but don't have much confidence in David Lammy being able to negotiate anything. But, I think it's a very difficult thing to change the ECHR. There's several ways it can be done, but the main way is that you need to get all of the nations to agree. Yeah. And that's going to take a very long time. So I don't have much faith in their ability to achieve anything quickly. And it's quickly that we need results here.
And that's the point. There are 28 members asking for a tweak today, Britain being one of them. But there are 46 members who are signatories to this. And, David, if you're one of those other 46 nations, you're going to be saying, well, what's in it for me? You're going to be asking for billions of pounds. You could even say no.
I think that's the thing. I think some of some countries will benefit from changes, some clearly will not. So to change the actual constitutive documents, you need everyone to agree. That's not going to happen. So there's other ways of doing it, which is an optional protocol, not really going to work in this case. And another is trying to get judges to interpret it in a certain way. Very difficult. So if you had years and years and years, then yes, you could do it. But, like I said, it's too little, I think, too late in this case. And I don't think David Lammy is the right person to be doing the negotiations.
OK, David Hay, thanks for your input as ever. And I always have to say, looking very impeccably turned out and dapper as ever. Human rights lawyer David Hay, always an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Now you've been served some holiday sun this year. Here is a forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy thundery downpours will continue to affect Cyprus as we go through tomorrow and into Friday, but this unsettled weather, it is going to ease as we head into the weekend. And actually, across many other parts around the Mediterranean, it's looking largely fine. Some decent sunshine to be had as well. Slightly different story, though, across much of Spain. A few outbreaks of rain around, and there is a band of rain sweeping in from the west, so that's going to turn things a bit wetter across Portugal and western Spain as we head towards the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Tell you what, we've got a story about potholes now that is just, ridiculous. Fed up residents in a quiet cul-de-sac in Banbury in Oxfordshire say they've been abandoned after being told that it could take 103 years to have their pothole-riddled road resurfaced. 103 years.
I could not believe it. Absolutely farcical. Anyway, the locals on Horsham Close say some of the potholes are like craters, adding it's yet another sign of Britain's crumbling infrastructure.
Yeah, we're going to speak now to pothole campaigner Mark Morell, often known as just Mr. Pothole. I say just Mr. Pothole. My goodness.
Yeah, it's terrible. They've used the figure from the Alarm survey. That's a survey, a report that shows just how bad our roads are, and used an average figure. how naive or stupid, really, to actually put a figure in there rather than say it'll be done as and when, you know. I know the particular road because the main road, Sussex Drive, that it comes off of, I campaigned some years ago, got it resurfaced. Last year, I actually used some AI as a free app called Stand the App and drove around the 34 miles of Banbury on the main routes and identified 1,500 severe defects on their main routes. So the side roads, a number of those cul-de-sacs are well outside their life. I mean, if you look at the average road, it lasts about 20 to 25 years. And in the same report, in 15 years' time, 52% of all the country's roads will be structurally unsound, and therefore we've got a major problem coming up. And it just reflects the attitude, really, from politicians and authorities that we have to accept to manage decline.
GB News, the People's Channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
10 to 4 now. Welcome back. And just a reminder of the breaking news story this hour, and it's this, that Crowborough residents have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army base in their town. And to discuss this, I'm joined in the studio by GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel, we heard there from a disgruntled local, Kim Bailey, saying they were never consulted, there was never any process with them. They have very real and legitimate fears and concerns. It would be hundreds of young men shipped into the area, and they don't want it there. Now, they've applied for a judicial review. Do you think they have any chance of success?
Probably not. It will slow down the process a bit. But what the Home Office have done so far is absolutely normal, that they don't consult with local residents before making a decision like this. Provided that they've followed whatever planning rules are in place, the Home Office is perfectly entitled to do what they do. They don't tell local authorities when they're about to get asylum seekers in a hotel in their patch. And the reason they don't is because they always get objections like this one. So anybody who finds they've got asylum seekers near them or next door to them always object. The Home Office are very careful to then, because of that, to follow the law absolutely, which is why a judicial review is worth a punt, but probably won't succeed.
Is it not in the job description, the department's raison d'etre? The Home Office's job is to protect British residents, to protect British soil. They're not doing that. They're protecting the human rights. They're protecting the people coming to our country illegally. It's not just a planning issue. It's a question of whose priorities are put first.
OK, then put yourself in the Home Office position. You've got thousands of people coming in. The Home Office don't want them here any more than anybody else does. Where are you going to put them? Everyone's objected to Rwanda? Putting them in hotels.
The Falkland Islands?
Well, I would imagine the Falkland Islanders would be as furious as Crowborough residents if you started putting asylum seekers there. The Ascension Islands hasn't got anything on it.
Yeah, precisely.
If
build something new.
If you build something new, you're in for billions of pounds to construct a place.
We found out today we've wasted £5 billion on the asylum process.
Yes, and it would cost an awful lot more billions to do something at Ascension Island. So the idea that we can suddenly shovel the problem off to one of our overseas territories is not really a goer. What we have to do is sort out what we do
shovel it onto Crowborough then.
Shovel
it onto Wethersfield. Shovel it onto Scampton.
Yes, because everyone objected to the hotels, and so the government made a pledge to end hotel use. The only way of ending hotel use is to
close the borders.
Is to find somewhere like this.
No. I'll put it to you, and any reasonable person watching this now will say this is dissipating a problem. It's not dissolving a problem. It's not getting rid of it.
It's not getting rid of it.
It's moving it around to areas that never, ever wanted it.
You've got to handle the problem as it is at the moment, that it will take time to sort this out. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. So what the government is trying to do is find the best possible solution. It won't please everybody. Well, it hardly pleases anybody, but it's the best they can do.
It's worth pointing out that Rachel Millward, who's the co-deputy leader of the Green Party, lives in the area there. Remember, the Green Party, refugees welcome, open borders, she voted against having Crowborough in the area. And that's the point. The political class are absolute hypocrites. They are total and utter NIMBYs. And that's what makes people sick to the bottom of their stomach. Nigel Nelson will have more of this on the next hour. I've got some breaking news for you now, I'm being told. It's this: the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has spoken to the US President Donald Trump, along with the leaders of France and Germany, about the situation in Ukraine and the peace process, agreeing that this is a critical moment. We'll have more on that throughout the rest of the show. Of course, a lot of pressure is being put on the coalition of the willing, onto the shoulders of Donald Trump, to get a deal which they believe is more appropriate for Ukraine. Now, coming up, significant story: a grime rapper who randomly murdered the Gentle Giant's Jimmy Mizen in a bakery in 2008 could be freed on parole in time for Christmas. For the second time, he'll be freed. On today's show, I'll be joined in the studio by Jimmy's mother, Margaret. Next, this is GB News, Britain's news channel. First, though, here's your weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Winds now slowly easing as Storm Bram moves away. Dry for most through the rest of the day, aside for some parts of central and northern Scotland. That's where we still have a strong westerly breeze, bringing in frequent showers, if not longer spells of rain, heading into the afternoon and evening, particularly for parts of central and northwest Scotland. The wind staying strong until after midnight, so still the risk of 70-75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then overnight those winds coming down. Clear spells developing through the night time. Thicker cloud always to the north and west, but the best of the clear spells will be towards the southeast, where temperatures will dip to 5 or 6 Celsius first thing Thursday, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. A few mist patches here and there. Thicker cloud, though, already starting to arrive once again into Scotland for the west, bringing some spots of rain into the Western Isles. Breeze picking up again as well. Some sunshine through the Highlands as well as through the central belt. You can see, though, cloud rolling into the north and west of England, Northern Ireland and West Wales. Some sunshine there for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but we've also got an area of cloud moving up from the Channel. That will turn things grey once again across the south. And increasingly, we're going to see the cloud in the west bring outbreaks of rain to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, eventually West Wales, the far southwest of Cornwall. The breeze picking up here as well, but once again, it's a mild day for many, not quite as mild as it has been, 12, 13 Celsius in places. And still some sunshine as we end the afternoon across the Midlands, Eastern England. So a few clear spells overnight in the east, and Northern Ireland seeing the skies clearing as this slow-moving weather front makes its way in from the west to the east. That's going to bring some damp weather to the east first thing Friday, brightening up later. A fine start to the weekend, unsettled later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for our more than 2 million YouTube subscribers and more than 2 billion views. That is Britain watching, sharing and making its voice heard louder than ever before.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users should be cautious on the M90 Friarton Bridge and the A55 Britannia Bridge due to high winds today. In North Yorkshire, a broken-down vehicle on the A19 southbound near the A168 has restricted traffic. In Stockport, the M60 anti-clockwise entry slip at Junction 1 is affected by a broken-down vehicle, leaving one lane open. In Warwickshire, a vehicle fire on the M6 northbound between Junctions 1 and 2 has caused 20-minute delays. Issues continue on the A30 westbound due to a broken-down vehicle. And on the trains, disruptions are noted on Great Western Railway between Par and Newquay. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK. All the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. Got a corker of a show. Here's what's coming up.
It feels really good. I mean, and it's absolutely testament to all the people that have been working on this. This isn't just about two people bringing a case. This is about a whole town coming together.
Breaking news for you there. The residents in Crowborough have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army base in the town there. They were never consulted, and now they're fighting back. And we'll bring you the very latest on this breaking news story. And a grime rapper who randomly murdered the gentle giants Jimmy Mizen and a bakery in 2008 could be freed on parole in time for Christmas. On today's show, I'll be joined by Jimmy's mother, Margaret, who says, "We're just praying that they do the right thing." And Nigel Farage and the French president's frontrunner Jordan Bardella, well, they claim they can finally stop the boats. In an historic first, Farage's Britain could finally be allowed to tow boats back to France. On today's show, I'll be joined by a top Bardella advisor. And British boozers are on death row, and now a group of rogue landlords, well, they banned Labour Party MPs from their pubs. I'll be joined by a governor who's barred their local MP on the show. Plus, I'll be crossing later in the show to the Reform Arms in Blackpool. And they say Keir Starmer is welcome to pop in for a pint any night of the week. That's all coming up in your next hour. Well, to show a victory of sorts for now, the residents of Crowborough have applied for a judicial review to stop the housing of hundreds of asylum seekers in an army base in their town. They say they were never consulted, and they have grave concerns about safety, about the residents of the army barracks simply wandering around the town with nothing to do. We've heard this story time and time before. Yet the Home Office seems to trample on the rights of British residents and put the rights of those coming to our country illegally first. Well, in Crowborough, they fought back. We've already spoken with a local there. We're speaking to some more throughout the rest of the show, as well as getting a comment from the Home Office. And meanwhile, David Lammy is in Strasbourg, cozying up to the ECHR, trying to get them to change the agreement so that in actual fact we can have processing centres for immigrants in other countries. You know, precisely the kind of processing centre the Labour Party scrapped in Rwanda on day one. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say is the way to do so, or you can scan the QR code in the corner of your screen now if you're that way inclined. First, though, here's your headlines, and here's Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much, Martin. Good afternoon to you. 3 minutes past 4 here in the GB newsroom. A man's been convicted of murdering a woman and her 3 children in a house fire in Bradford. Shiraz Ali killed Bryony Gawith and her children Dennisty, Oscar and Aubrey, aged between 9 years and 22 months, in a revenge attack when Bryony's sister Antonia ended their relationship. Prosecutors said Ali, who used petrol to set the home alight in August last year, was motivated by jealousy and fuelled by drink and drugs, and wanted to inflict maximum pain without caring who was there. His accomplice, Callum Sunderland, was found guilty of 4 counts of manslaughter for breaking into the home where Antonia had been staying.
Even with justice, nothing will ever make this right. Nothing will ever fill the silence where their laughter should be. Nothing will ever bring back our family. We will love them for the rest of our lives. We will miss them in every breath. Our heart will never be whole again. They will be forever young, forever ours, forever missed beyond words. Thank you.
Residents of a town in East Sussex have applied for a judicial review against a Home Office decision to house asylum seekers at a nearby army base. The government's plan to move around 500 migrants from hotels to Crowborough training camp has already faced intense resistance from locals there. A spokesperson from Crowborough Shield Community Interest Company has confirmed they have issued proceedings against the Home Secretary over the government's decision. The 46 member states signed up to the European Convention of Human Rights have agreed to negotiate a new approach to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. Justice ministers at a meeting in Strasbourg say they intend to work together on the interpretation of the ECHR treaty and adopt a declaration in May next year. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer called for changes to how the treaty works in practice and how it's interpreted by British courts. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy, who attended the meeting, says the definition of family life should not be stretched to prevent the removal of people with no right to remain in the country. A new report from the National Audit Office shows that fewer than 1 in 10 asylum seekers whose claims are rejected are actually deported from the UK. The report's heavily critical of Home Office monitoring, stating robust data gathering is not a priority and there's a culture of tolerating and working around data that's not fit for purpose. He goes on to find the Home Office has no idea how many asylum seekers have gone missing since arriving in the country. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has asked why Labour backbenchers are calling Sir Keir Starmer a caretaker Prime Minister. He responded at PMQs with a defence of Labour's budget and says Miss Badenoch's the one trying to save her job.
Mr Speaker, my own MPs are very proud we've just passed a budget which protected our public services and our NHS. No austerity which brought our NHS to the ground. We've created the conditions for economic stability with the headroom we need. And Mr Speaker, we're concentrating on the single most important issue for families up and down the country, which is the cost of living, by taking £150 off their energy bills. That's in addition to the £150 for the 6 million of the poorest household. We're concentrating on what matters to the country. She's trying to save her job.
He's being called a caretaker because everyone can see that he's lost control of his party, that this lot are so busy trying to replace him that they've taken their eyes off the ball. Let's start, Mr. Speaker. Wait for it. Let's start with the Energy Secretary, who wants to recycle himself as leader.
A British soldier killed on duty in Ukraine has been named by the Ministry of Defence as 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. Sir Keir Starmer paid tribute at Prime Minister's questions earlier, saying Mr Hooley was injured in a tragic accident away from the front lines while observing Ukrainian forces testing a new defensive capability. And Sophie Kinsella, the author of the best-selling Shopaholic series of novels, has died at the age of 55. The writer, whose real name was Madeleine Sophie Wickham, revealed last year she'd been diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer. In a statement, her family have said, "We're heartbroken to announce the passing this morning of our beloved Sophie. She died peacefully, with her final days filled with her true loves, family, music, warmth, Christmas and joy." Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 4:30.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Quick look at the markets. The pound buys you $1.33 and €1.14. The price of gold, £3,148.76 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 trading at 9,669 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Aaron. Now, breaking news in this past hour, and it's this. Residents in Crowborough have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army barracks in their town. And a spokesperson from Crowborough Shield Community Interest Company has told GB News this. We can confirm that just after 2 p.m. today, on behalf of the people of Crowborough, we have issued proceedings against the Home Secretary in respect of her decision to house migrants at Crowborough Camp. And we are seeking judicial review to overturn this decision. Well, let's now speak with GB News' Homeland Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, welcome to the show. Of course, this was a hugely unpopular decision with the locals of Crowborough. No consultation, no process, and today they're fighting back.
Well, on the very day, Martin, that we got this incredible, sobering insight from the National Audit Office about the absolute state of disarray that the Home Office asylum system is in. Now this news of this legal challenge that could bring more upheaval to that asylum policy. This is important for the government because the government wants to move forward with a system where they can take asylum seekers out of the hotels. Remember, some 36,000 asylum seekers are currently being housed in hotels right across the country, and they want to move towards the use of military barracks, either presently used or former military barracks, and other suitable sites that they can put these migrant camps within. But the residents here in this East Sussex town are fighting back because they say that it's completely unsuitable to put, as the government is planning, more than 500 young male asylum seekers in an area where there is just not the infrastructure, and real concerns among local people that you have young men who won't be confined to these barracks. It's not a secure accommodation centre. They will be allowed to wander free in the local towns and villages in that area. That's what is so concerning to people in the Crowborough area. We spoke a little earlier, you spoke to Kim Bailey, and she gave us her response to the fact that that judicial review application has now been lodged at the High Court.
Really good. I mean, and it's absolutely testament to all the people that have been working on this. So obviously, as the chair of Crowborough Shield, one of the directors, there's Alex de Warren as well. But this isn't just about two people bringing a case. This is about a whole town coming together. You know, a lot of people have worked so hard to get this over the line so quickly. And it's just absolutely amazing that we've been able to do it so quickly. So yeah, we are excited to be bringing it, to be saying to the Home Secretary, you know, this isn't a national security issue. You cannot just bypass every law and decide to do what you want to do.
So, Martin, local residents say they just simply haven't been consulted on this. They're unaware of any impact assessments that have been done in terms of the impact on the community, the safety impact, and that's why they want a judicial review of the way in which this was signed off. Now, if you think you've heard this before, remember back to Linton-on-Ouse in North Yorkshire, another former RAF base this time that had been earmarked by the Conservative government to house about 1,500 migrants. And at that point, the local authority, local residents had said exactly the same. There'd be no consultation, no risk or impact assessments carried out. And they threatened to launch a judicial review. At that point, the government backed down, but no word from the government about what they intend to do with regard to this challenge. But make no mistakes, Martin, this is a very, very important challenge. If it goes through, if it goes in the favour of the local residents here, it could have a very significant impact on the direction of travel for the government's asylum policy.
Thank you, Mark White, for bringing us up to speed. You are exactly right. The residents of Crowborough are fighting back. Thank you, Mark White. Let's bring in my next guest now, and that's the former Labour MP and Minister Bill Rammell. Bill, welcome to the show. Once again, locals never consulted. They were shoved. This was shoved upon them by, in this instance, the Labour government. Was same before Linton-on-Ouse by the Tories, RAF Scampton, RAF Wethersfield. This is not solving the problem. It's moving the problem. And once again, it's ordinary voters who are getting shafted.
Well, look, Martin, I'm not convinced that the legal challenge will win. But if you want to, and the government is rightly committed to significantly reducing asylum numbers, but that is going to take time. If in the intervening period you want to end the use of hotels, which the government is committed to, you don't want to put people in houses of multiple occupation, which I think is a much worse solution, then isolated army camps, I think, can be. But
they're not isolated. Bill, they're literally at the end of people's gardens. There's no fence, there's no prevention of stopping anyone. If you've been to the site, which we have, it's literally at the end of people's gardens. There's not even a piece of chicken wire. How do you fancy hundreds of young men wandering around your back garden?
Well, look, I live fairly near to the Bell Hotel in Epping, and, I want to end the use of asylum hotels. The government does. We don't want asylum seekers being placed in houses of multiple occupation. And I think in those circumstances, army camps can be part of the solution. But we also need, as the government is committed to, a dramatic overhaul of the asylum system. Shabana Mahmood's proposals and the most far-reaching changes to the system in about 30 years. The government needs to legislate on those proposals, but it is going to take time. But look, these changes can make a difference. When I was in government, under the last Labour government, in the early 2000s, there were about 90,000 asylum claims per year. By the time we left office, we'd reduced it to 19,000 a year. But not through stunts, not through undeliverable policies, but changing the system and making it work. And that's what the government is committed to doing.
But Bill, the scale of asylum back in the day then was tiny compared to now. This is a huge tidal wave. But let's be realistic. I don't know if you saw the report out today from the National Audit Office. The lunatics have taken over our asylum system. 5 billion quid has been splurged. No one really knows where the money is going. 50% of cases are taking more than 3 years. And we simply have no idea about how many asylum seekers have simply gone missing in action. They're wandering around the country. No one knows where they are. And back to the point of using army barracks or RAF sites, the Conservatives tried it before, it failed. It's a definition of insanity to repeat the same idea and expect it to work in places like Crowborough.
But if you're going to maintain the commitment, which I think most people agree with, that we are part of the Refugee Convention, but you want to end the use of hotels, the asylum seekers have to go somewhere. But if in terms of what you're saying about that National Audit Office report, and it covers both the last Tory government and the early part of this Labour government, I think there have been real concerns about management within the Home Office under successive governments and not accurately reporting data around asylum seekers and failed asylum seekers, I think is a real concern. That, in part, is why Shabana Mahmood has come forward with the most wide-ranging changes that we've seen in a generation, removing the legal duty to guarantee support to asylum seekers, limiting the time for appeals, having just one appeal within the system. And we're already seeing process. Deportations are up. And I think the
Bill,
biggest...
people have heard all this before. People have heard all this before.
Martin,
They've heard it all before. The deportations of 3.5% of illegals, it's not even scratching the surface. You're talking about the low-hanging fruit, visa overstayers. Illegal immigrants face a tiny percentile chance of being kicked out of the country, and the solution from this government is the same as the one from the previous failed government: stick them in army camps at the end of someone's gardens. It's utterly unacceptable.
No, it's a multifaceted approach. And the reality, and let's talk about the reality, Martin, is deportations are up significantly under this government. Yes, they need to go further. One of the biggest changes is a 63% rise in illegal working arrests, because one of the problems we face with failed asylum seekers is they disappear into the black economy.
Yeah.
That's why the government
We've got no
is
idea how many
targeting
disappeared.
unscrupulous... Sorry?
We've got no idea how many disappeared. That's the finding of today's National Audit Office report.
You
haven't got a clue. No one's got a clue how many people are here.
We know, and it's a matter of fact, that there's been a 63% in illegal working raids within the black economy.
There's more of them to nick.
Range of other, with that, along with a
Of course,
whole
you've
range
nicked
of
more of
other
them.
measures.
There could be 1 or 2 million of them.
Martin, that, along with a whole range of other measures, will, over time, change this system. But the system the government inherited was in crisis. It was taking far too long to process asylum claims. People were disappearing into the black economy.
50% of cases over 3 years. Data from today. Stop blaming the Tories.
In time, well, no, I'm not going to stop blaming the Tories, because the system we inherited was an absolute shocking mess. What we're determined to do, and what the government is doing, is turning that system around. But we would be lying to people if we say that that can happen overnight. But I go back to the last Labour government, and the figures in the early 2000s were not dissimilar to the figures that we've got today, and we reduced them from 90,000 to 19,000 a year. That's the kind of practical progress that you can make if you get a grip on the system.
All right, Bill Rowell, hope springs eternal. Thanks for joining us on the show, as ever. Now, we've got a comment here. GBNews has approached the Home Office for comment on the situation in Crowborough. We're waiting for that response. Of course, we'll bring it to you as soon as we have it. Now, just a reminder, there's a poll today. Friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free by scanning the QR code on your screen now. And today we're asking, who is responsible for Labour Party's tax rises? Is it the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, or is it the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves? Let us know. We'll bring the answers later in the session. Let's talk about this now with our political editor, Chris Hope, who's in the studio. Chris, you've been looking at this. Rachel Reeves, of course, was cross-examined today. She seems to have thrown the Prime Minister under the bus somewhat.
Well, she's yoked him into the choices that she made in the budget, and that's entirely right, because the Prime Minister is the First Lord of the Treasury. He's actually overall in charge of all policy making, and then that includes taxation. So the Rachel Reeves has been in front of the MPs, the beaks, if you like, on the Treasury Committee. She says that together as a team they chose to freeze tax thresholds, which she again said did not amount to a breach of the manifesto promise not to hike taxes. And in fact, I think it did actually go against what she said last year, where she said she wouldn't put increased tax thresholds.
But it's diametrically opposed to what she said before.
Yeah, this time last year, exactly.
Yeah.
She said it would be a tax on working people. So, yeah. But she's saying it's not, and she's dancing her head of a pin about what the manifesto means. But she says here, the PM and I met 2-3 times a week during the budget process. That's not always the case between chancellors and prime ministers. So not normally, they met abnormally often, OK? She recognises that. There's a close partnership between the pair of them. So went through all the numbers, and they decided it as a team. That is her saying, frankly, if you want to blame anyone for these tax increases, blame him next door as much as me.
Isn't that nice? Now, meanwhile, it's almost Christmas. Chris, do we believe in miracles at Christmas? David Lammy, Lord Hermer, they're in Strasbourg at the Europe conference.
Yes.
They've gone with their cap in their hand to the ECHR, trying to get them to bend their rules, amend their rules to allow Britain to do offshore processing. Can they get a result?
Well, they're not in Lapland with Father Christmas. They're with Alain Berset, who is the Secretary General of the Council of Europe. He says this is our chance to bring that discussion where it belongs and chart a new way forward. It's a meeting of the Council of Europe, and Richard Hermer, Lord Hermer, one of your good mates, is there, Martin, with David Lammy, with the Council of Europe. They are deciding how to tweak the European Convention on Human Rights. And I'm a cynic. I've been through the Brexit difficulties inequalities post-2016. You were voted in to deal with that as an MEP. But the language coming out from 27 members of the European Union and also the UK, as I understand it, as part of that, they are saying this, that they are now looking at a starting point in ECHR rules that mean you can expel foreigners convicted of serious crimes, even if they have acquired ties, like family members, in the host country. Other measures, too, also reporting on GB News website. What is fascinating here is we are seeing slowly a little step forward on ECHR withdrawal, and that might mean our judges have control over who stays here.
OK, I think a lot of people have heard a pretty similar tale before.
Well,
thank you very much, Chris Hope, Nigel Ness. We'll get to you in the next block. I'm being told we have to move on because a grime rapper who randomly murdered the gentle giant Jimmy Mizen in a bakery in 2008, well, he could be freed on parole just in time for Christmas. I'll be joined in the studio by Jimmy's mother, Margaret, next. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, and a warning now that some viewers may find this next story distressing. Now, the Parole Board is considering the release of Jimmy Mizen's killer, Jake Farry, for a second time. The 36-year-old was first paroled in June 2023, but was recalled to prison after an investigation found that he'd bragged about the murder in drill rap songs. Now, the mother of Jimmy, who died after Farry threw a glass dish at him in a bakery in May 2008, has urged the Parole Board this time to make the right decision. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by Jimmy Mizen's mother, Margaret, now. Margaret, welcome to the studio once again. You were here, of course, last time when this individual breached his bail and was sent back to jail. Must be a very troubling time for you. For the benefit of our viewers and listeners who aren't familiar with your beautiful boy and how he came to lose his life, can you tell us what happened on that fateful day?
Yeah, it was in May 2008, a lovely sunny Saturday, and I always share that because Jimmy was born on a lovely sunny Saturday as well. And he went round the corner with a brother to buy his first ever lottery ticket, and then in the bakery to buy a sandwich. And Jake came in. He was a very angry young man anyway, with lots of history of violence. Ended up throwing a glass dish at Jimmy, and the dish shattered on Jimmy's neck, and a piece of glass cut through the carotid artery and the jugular vein and embedded itself in Jimmy's spine, and Jimmy bled to death within 3 to 3.5 minutes. And sadly, he lost his life.
It was an act of random and brutal violence. Yeah. Jimmy didn't know anything about this individual, never met him in his life, simply going about his everyday business and paid the ultimate price.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy just went round the corner, was all excited, really, because it was his birthday the day before. He was 16. Monday, he was going to start his GCSEs, so he was just really happy. He normally worked with his dad on a Saturday. He was his dad's Saturday boy. Barry's a shoe repairer, but he asked for the day off, and Barry said, of course. And so he was just... I can still see him now running down the stairs, all 6'4" of him, talking about the lottery and talking about his birthday, and not in a very short time, he'd lost his life.
Margaret, you weren't allowed any more birthdays, and it's approaching Christmas. You weren't allowed any more Christmases with Jimmy. It's approaching Christmas. Next Tuesday, Jimmy's killer could be freed. There's another parole hearing. To remind again our viewers and listeners, he breached his parole before when he was out. He went to areas of London he was forbidden from going, was making drill videos where he glorified death and killing.
Yeah, when someone is let out on parole, they usually come out on licence. And the licence for Jake was the fact he wasn't allowed in certain areas of London. And one of the films that he made was actually in one of those areas. So I'm presuming that's why he went back in, because he never really told everything. Not that they keep secrets, but they just don't tell you everything. But the drill music was pretty awful. It wasn't just the fact that 2 of the songs possibly were about Jimmy. I think it was more the fact that it's inciting violence, and everything we do is about stopping violence for young people. But if they're playing music in the way that he was, how can this help our young people?
And he was even commended by BBC Radio 1 Extra as a rising talent. And he was making throat-slitting gestures in the video. It must have been hugely, hugely distressing for you at that time, let alone what happened to you before, Margaret.
Yeah.
He was then put back in jail.
Yeah.
His parole is next Tuesday. In time for Christmas, your boy's killer could be freed. What do you think is going to happen? What would you like to happen?
Well, for one, I want the parole board to do the right thing. You know, me as a family, me and my family, we have to put our trust in the parole board. And I just want them to do the right thing this time, because he came out before on licence and he broke that licence. Will he break it again? I don't know, but something in my heart tells me he probably will. And he'll come out, and part of him now is going to be a celebrity. And I find that really sad. That probably saddens me more than anything, the fact that he wanted this celebrity status, and I think he might get it.
And he's shot to notoriety because he's been putting these videos out on Spotify, on YouTube and TikTok. It's just incredible that the BBC were backing that. You know, I'm always struck when you come in. You strike me as a wonderful, beautiful soul, and I find that incredibly fascinating, because like what you've been through, and I see on your neck there, your Christianity, your faith has been a huge part of helping you to cope with this.
Oh, absolutely. You know, when people see me, they think I cope fantastically. Well, let me tell you, sometimes it's very painful, even now, so many years on. But every time I feel that pain, I pray, and I pray with my husband, and those prayers are what help us. And the message that we give out, which is clear, is forgiveness, peace and hope. And I think it's a message that's needed now more than ever. But faith, for me, is everything. It got me through those deepest, darkest moments when we lost Jimmy, and it still does. And even now, yes, the parole board's coming up, and yes, it's really hard. I'll just keep praying, because I have nothing else to hold on to.
Margaret, what can I say? I just wish you, like... What can I say? I'm just lost for words. You're an incredible person.
Oh, no.
What you've been through.
Thank you. Thank you. There's lots of work to be done out there. There's so much. We're hearing of violence all the time. So for me, on the day that Jimmy died, I promised him I'd dedicate my life to working for peace, and that's what we're going to do. We're never, ever, ever going to give up.
And you run the anti-knife crime campaign group, the Jimmy Mizen Foundation, and people can still help with that now, can't they? They can get involved and donate.
Absolutely, and we do jumpers for Jimmy every year. Wear a jumper and pay a few pennies and help us. So absolutely.
Margaret Mizen, it's a pleasure to have you company. Sincerely, as I wish you peace, I wish you prosperity, and I hope you get the right result next week.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the Parole Board has told GB News this. A panel will carefully examine a huge range of evidence. Protecting the public is our priority. Lots more still to come between now and 5 o'clock, including concerning police figures that have revealed a disturbing pattern of sex offences against women and girls in changing rooms across England and Wales. But first, it's time for your latest news headlines, and here's Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Martin. Very good afternoon to you. Our headlines. A man's been found guilty of murdering his ex-girlfriend's sister and her 3 children in a house fire in Bradford. Shiraz Ali carried out the arson attack after his former partner Antonio Gawain left him and went to stay with her sister Bryony, who died in the fire. Residents of a town in East Sussex have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house asylum seekers at a nearby army base. European countries, including the UK, have agreed to take a fresh approach to the continent's Human Rights Treaty, the ECHR, in an effort to tackle illegal migration. A British soldier killed on duty in Ukraine has been named as 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. And the author of the Shopaholic series of novels, Sophie Kinsella, has died at the age of 55. She'd been suffering from an aggressive form of brain cancer. Those are your headlines. More coming up for you at the top of the next hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Winds now slowly easing as Storm Bram moves away. Dry for most through the rest of the day, aside for some parts of central and northern Scotland. That's where we still have a strong westerly breeze, bringing in frequent showers, if not longer spells of rain heading into the afternoon and evening, particularly for parts of central and northwest Scotland. The wind staying strong until after midnight, so still the risk of 70-75 mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then overnight those winds coming down. Clear spells developing through the night time. Thicker cloud always to the north and west, but the best of the clear spells will be towards the southeast, where temperatures will dip to 5 or 6 Celsius first thing Thursday, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. A few mist patches here and there. Thicker cloud, though, already starting to arrive once again into Scotland for the west, bringing some spots of rain into the Western Isles. Breeze picking up again as well. Some sunshine through the Highlands as well as through the central belt. You can see, though, cloud rolling into the north and west of England, Northern Ireland and West Wales. Some sunshine there for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but we've also got an area of cloud moving up from the Channel. That will turn things grey once again across the south. And increasingly, we're going to see the cloud in the west bring outbreaks of rain to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, eventually West Wales, the far southwest of Cornwall. The breeze picking up here as well, but once again, it's a mild day for many, not quite as mild as it has been, 12-13 Celsius in places, and still some sunshine as we end the afternoon across the Midlands, eastern England. So a few clear spells overnight in the east and Northern Ireland, seeing the skies clearing as this slow-moving weather front makes its way in from the west to the east. That's going to bring some damp weather to the east first thing Friday, brightening up later. A fine start to the weekend, unsettled later.
Thank you, Britain, for sharing over 5 million comments on your say. Because when you talk, we listen.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Motorists should exercise caution on the M90 Friarton Bridge due to high winds. Delays affect the M4 eastbound between junctions 47 and 46. The M60 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 1 in Stockport has a broken down vehicle. In Derbyshire, 2 lanes are closed following a collision on the M1 northbound between junctions 28 and 29, causing significant delays. Windsor and Maidenhead experienced delays on the M25 clockwise between junctions 12 and 13 due to a collision. And on the trains, Great Western Railway reports no services between Par and Newquay. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. Your time is 4:37. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, just a reminder that friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free. And you can scan that QR code on your screen now. And today we're asking, who is responsible for the Labour Party's tax rises? Is it the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, or his Chancellor, Rachel Reeves? Get stuck in. Let us know what you think. And we'll bring you the results later on in the show. Now, moving on, it's a worrying picture emerging from leisure centres across England and Wales as new police data out today shows that women and girls are facing serious sexual offences inside mixed-sex changing rooms. Now, campaigners say that councils have simply ignored repeated safety warnings. And joining me now to discuss this is the CEO of the Women's Sports Union and the Olympic swimmer, great friend of the show, Sharon Davis, MBE. Sharon, a pleasure to have your company. But once again, concerning information coming out here today, an alarming and rising number of sexual offences taking place against women in leisure centres, and the majority of them are in mixed-sex changing spaces.
Yeah, I mean, good afternoon. I mean, it's the obvious thing, isn't it? You know, a long time ago when I used to be swimming, there was men's and there was ladies, and we didn't have the problems that we have now. The Women's Rights Network, they had a freedom of information search with several police forces, I think something like 257 across England and Wales. And the figures that came back were quite horrifying. And I mean, rape is at an all-time high. We've had some terrible news over the last few days about, you know, rape of young girls. 16 rapes, 80 sexual offences and 65 acts of voyeurism. And I would say that that's just in the year 2023. That happened in leisure centres and swimming pools, and predominantly, as you mentioned, all in sort of unisex changing villages, you know, where we have a massive problem with young men in particular putting their telephones underneath the you know, the cubicles and taking photographs, and then young girls being petrified that those pictures are going to appear on social media. And what they do is they just stop going. You know, that's what we find. The figures that have been reported to the police since 2005 have gone from something like 60,000 to nearly 210,000 reports of sexual assaults per year. I mean, that's in 20 years. It's quite frightening, really, the disregard we have for safety for women and girls at the moment. And there's just no risk assessments that are being done by these local authorities when they put these changing facilities in. You know, we could sort out nearly all of this problem by maintaining single-sex changing facilities.
Sharon Davis, you know, I know my local leisure centre where I take my kids swimming, they have family changing, but often in the family changing, you just get grown men wandering around, I'll be frank, with their bits out in front of young girls. You get teenage lads again with their bits out. And I put it to you, in the aim to be inclusive, we've gone too far. Surely we should just go back to basics, have the boys and the girls separate spaces.
Yeah, I think we have to be really careful about the age as well, you know, that mums are able to bring sons into change rooms. I mean, I have a granddaughter who's nearly 6, and I take her swimming occasionally when I get the chance, when she's not at school. And I must admit, I've been in the change rooms before when there's been boys in there that are 8 and 9 years old. And you know, this particular change room that I was going in, they didn't have a cubicle. There was nowhere I could go. So we're trying to fumble away underneath the towel, and it really shouldn't be that way. I think we have to go back to some basics. We have to go back to understanding that there are safeguarding rules for a reason. You know, women have fought very hard for all these safeguarding rules to be implemented. We know that with mixed-sex toilets, for example, in schools, that girls don't go. They hold all day and end up with, you know, urinary tract infections because they're not going to the bathrooms. We need to go back to single-sex changing rooms and toilets. We need to give privacy and dignity and protection to our young girls and our women. And that's what it is, it's protection.
And Sharon Davis, like, this isn't a trans issue per se, this is generally across the board, but also we are seeing a particular battlefront with trans people in women's spaces. So across the board, really, we just need to get some common sense back.
Yeah, we just need to understand that, you know, when we say that it's a woman's changing room or it's a girl's changing room, that is a biological reality. It's a sex-based segregation. It means that only females are in that changing room. And what we must make sure is that there are either some neutral spaces or that the male spaces are safe for non-conforming males, because that's what they remain. They remain males. They're just non-conforming males that are unhappy with their biology and the way that they present. You know, so they're doing their hair in a different way, growing it a bit long, putting on some makeup, maybe putting on a skirt. But that does not change somebody's biology. That just changes your outward appearance. And the figures show us that, you know, a trans-identifying male is no less safe than a male is to a female. So we still need to treat these people with the same respect that we would do, that, you know, of having those segregated spaces. So yes, make sure that male spaces are welcoming and safe for everybody, but maybe put in some neutral spaces. But the most important thing is to protect the females and the girls and to give them the safeguarding that they have done in the past and that we are losing. And all the figures are showing us that we are going in the wrong direction.
Okay, Sharon Davis, once again, thank you for joining us, the CEO of the Women's Sports Union and the Olympic swimmer, and great friend of the show. Merry Christmas to you, Sharon Davis. Always a pleasure to have your company. Thank you. Nigel Nelson, let's get back to you for some reaction. One of the comments that really leapt out to me in this Women's Rights Network report, they said that shared spaces have become, quote, a magnet for sexual predators. And isn't that the point? If you create an opportunity, you create danger. Maybe Sharon Davis has a point. We need to get back to basics, just have boys and girls.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually agree with everything that Sharon just said there, that I've always been in favour of women-only spaces, which, of course, therefore means men-only spaces. And that means spaces only for biological women and biological men. I get that. I think that there are areas where you can mix the two. If you do unisex toilets, you can, provided you've got individual cubicles, which are completely shut off from anything else, then you can actually mix the two, and anybody should be perfectly safe inside them. If you do the same thing with changing rooms where there were cubicles there, then you could do the mixture. The important thing, I think, and Sharon mentioned, is the risk assessment. Find out what the dangers are and make sure you've done something to accommodate those.
The figures are stark: 16 rapes, 80 sexual assaults and 65 acts of voyeurism, and that's just in 2023. The vast majority of those taking part in mixed sex areas. And even when you have cubicles, I take my kids swimming, it's the common areas. So you can go into a cubicle as a boy or as a girl, but in the common areas, people are wandering around naked, and it's not right.
No, I mean, and if we're assuming this is a local authority swimming pool, this is something that the local authority should monitor, and that's what I mean about doing a risk assessment. That's how you actually deal with it. I mean, bear in mind that the Supreme Court judgment, again, it was to do with trans issues, but the Supreme Court judgment was quite clear that women-only spaces have to be provided. So that is what local authorities have got to do if they haven't got another solution.
On that point, Nigel Nelson, this report from the Women's Rights Network does point out currently only 1/3 of leisure centres across the country do not offer dedicated female-only changing or showers. So there's still plenty of work to do. Nigel Nelson, thank you very much, as ever. Now, coming up next, British boozers say that they are on death row, and now a group of rogue landlords, well, they've banned Labour Party MPs from their pubs. I'll speak to one of those landlords next. But meanwhile, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy thundery downpours will continue to affect Cyprus as we go through tomorrow and into Friday, but this unsettled weather, it is going to ease as we head into the weekend. And actually, across many other parts around the Mediterranean, it's looking largely fine. Some decent sunshine to be had as well. Slightly different story, though, across much of Spain. A few outbreaks of rain around, and there is a band of rain sweeping in from the west, so that's going to turn things a bit wetter across Portugal and western Spain as we head towards the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
true Grinch fashion, one neighbour has written a bar humbug letter to a festive father-to-be, outraged by what he calls Dave Goodlin's cheap and tacky Christmas display outside his house.
I mean, there is no such thing as cheap and tacky Christmas display. Christmas is cheap and tacky. Dave accidentally, it happens, come on, brought a 20-foot inflatable Santa, believing it was just 4 foot tall, and inflated it outside his house.
Well, the neighbour's fury and Dave's giant Santa have now gone viral, and he's been left with little choice but to deflate the big man himself.
Or looking at that picture, went and brought a snowman that matched. Any case, we don't know. So joining us now is the man himself, Dave Goodings. Dave, you must be a bit deflated by this story.
Hello, good afternoon, guys. Yes, very deflated, because last weekend, the Sunday just gone, we decided to put up our Christmas decorations. You've got the tree behind me, and then outside the front, we've got 2 giant Christmas inflatables, one being a giant snowman and the other a Father Christmas.
So people have complained. Grinches have complained about this.
It's just the one complaint letter that we've had through the post. So we put them up on the Sunday, on the weekend just gone, and then I got home from work on Monday to an envelope that had been posted through the door. There's, no writing on the envelope, which I thought was a little bit weird. I opened it up, and lo and behold, in the envelope was this long letter, all in capital letters. I couldn't believe it, what I was reading. And at first, my heart sunk, because I'm not the kind of person at all. I hate upsetting anyone, I hate any confrontation, stuff like that. But for me, I was reading it, and I was like, oh, have I upset someone? But then after reading it a couple of times, it's so silly. It's a time of year where you can let your hair down, have a little bit of fun at Christmas.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
It's 10 to 5. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, around 50 pub landlords say that they will ban Labour Party MPs from their venues. And that's amid a furious backlash over steep business rate hikes that they warn threaten their very survival. Let's now speak with the landlord of the Old Thatch in Wimborne, Andy Lennox. Andy, welcome to the show. I understand that you're one of the ringleaders of this movement, and you're saying no to Labour MPs. What's got you so chagrined that you've barred them?
I think we just got to the stage where, we've done all of the talking. We've written letters, countless interviews, countless meetings. And after all of that, the taxes went up even more. After the last budget, we went all the way back to basics and went through all of the campaigns and started going through all of writing letters and doing everything we possibly could. Even one of our members went to number 11, met the Chancellor. We had a letter hand-delivered to the Chancellor, and still our taxes went up. And I think we've just got to the stage where enough is enough. And we need the Labour government to listen. They're the government of the time at the moment. 2 consecutive budgets that really have put unbelievable strain on hospitality industry. And, I'm a campaigner beforehand anyway, and these were some of my members who started putting these stickers up. And, the backlash to them from some of Labour people was awful. And so I have jumped in and helped. But ultimately, it's more like 150 people now that have got these stickers, and we're getting requests continuously at the moment because I think our industry has had enough. There's no more cuts to be made.
You can see one of those stickers behind your head there. It simply says no Labour MPs. There's a red line through them, so they're literally on a barred list. What happens if one of them turns up?
Well, ultimately, we have had a couple of issues there, but ultimately, we want to engage with them. We want them to take their anger and frustration that they have with us for doing this back to, the powers that be within the Labour government and actually say, look, I think we've made a step wrong here. We can't say that we've taken taxes down when we've actually put taxes up. They've obviously got to the breaking point, and I think that's where we are. We're at the breaking point, and if we don't find a route through this, you're going to be in a situation where January, February, March comes, and you're going to see masses of closures coming up just to this before the budget or just after the budget. The calls that I was getting from our members and from my friends and colleagues is heartbreaking. I mean, people just turning around and saying, "Look, Andy, I don't know what to do anymore. My business was an incredibly successful business, and I just going to have to put it. I'm just going to have to close it." And the problem is, it's not that we're not busy. And this is what people seem to not understand. The pub that we're talking about, my pub, it's Dorset's best pub. It's a very, very, very busy pub. But if you sit there at the back of it and can't make any money and you're busy, there's something wrong. The taxation system, if government taxes and a pint takes more money than we make in a pint, there's something seriously wrong with the taxation system.
OK, Andy Lennox, we have to leave it there. That's the governor of the Old Thatch in Wimborne. Thank you very much for joining us on today's show. Appreciate your time. Nigel Nelson, clearly, Andy Lennox and now 150 publicans think the Labour Party are drinking in the Last Chance saloon.
It does sound like it. I mean, obviously, Andy and any other landlord is entitled to ban whoever they like from their premises. That is their right. Labour MPs are a thirsty lot. I would have thought they might be losing some profit on the pints by not having them in there. I understand their anger. I can see what the problem is, but I think that there is a general anger across business about various tax rises.
So give them a tax break. Don't try and break their business.
Well, I mean, they've been offered a tax break. Well, they've been given a tax break, but their argument is it's not enough. And at the moment, they've got £4 billion of taxpayers' money. That will reduce the business rates they're paying. The trouble is, it doesn't actually stop them going up. It just caps them.
There'll be no boozers left at this rate, mate. Well, there'll be no boozers left. Anyway, we'll be talking to a present Labour MP soon to find out what their take is. Is it last orders for the Labour Party in your local pub? Thank you very much, Nigel Nelson. Always a pleasure to have your company. Now, still to come, Crowborough residents are to launch a judicial review against the Home Office over its plans to house migrants in their town. Hundreds of men pouring into a former army barracks. No consultation, no process, no voice, and they've had enough. That's next. I'll be speaking with a local Labour MP next. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Winds now slowly easing as Storm Bram moves away. Dry for most through the rest of the day, aside for some parts of central and northern Scotland. That's where we still have a strong westerly breeze, bringing in frequent showers, if not longer spells of rain, heading into the afternoon and evening, particularly for parts of central and northwest Scotland. The wind staying strong until after midnight, so still the risk of 70-75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then overnight those winds coming down. Clear spells developing through the night time. Thicker cloud always to the north and west, but the best of the clear spells will be towards the southeast, where temperatures will dip to 5 or 6 Celsius first thing Thursday, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. A few mist patches here and there. Thicker cloud, though, already starting to arrive once again into Scotland for the west, bringing some spots of rain into the Western Isles. Breeze picking up again as well. Some sunshine through the Highlands as well as through the central belt. You can see, though, cloud rolling into the north and west of England, Northern Ireland and West Wales. Some sunshine there for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but we've also got an area of cloud moving up from the Channel. That will turn things grey once again across the south. And increasingly, we're going to see the cloud in the west bring outbreaks of rain to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, eventually West Wales, the far southwest of Cornwall. The breeze picking up here as well, but once again, it's a mild day for many, not quite as mild as it has been, 12-13 Celsius in places. And still some sunshine as we end the afternoon across the Midlands, eastern England. So a few clear spells overnight in the east and Northern Ireland seeing the skies clearing as this slow-moving weather front makes its way in from the west to the east. That's going to bring some damp weather to the east first thing Friday, brightening up later. A fine start to the weekend, unsettled later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you so much for helping us to reach 8 million followers and subscribers across our social media channels. That's 8 million fearless Brits standing up for what really matters.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Travellers on the M90 Friarton Bridge should exercise caution due to high winds. In Derbyshire, a collision on the M1 northbound between junctions 28 and 29 is causing significant delays, with 2 lanes closed. Elsewhere, the M25 clockwise in Surrey faces congestion between junction 10 and junction 11. In Redcar and Cleveland, a broken down vehicle on the A174 westbound has closed 1 lane. In Stockport, the M60 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 1 features a lane closure due to a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, Great Western Railway reports disruptions between Par and Newquay. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with, each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here to GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
A very, very good afternoon to you. It's 5 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show on GB News, broadcasting live across the UK, all the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way through until 6 p.m. We've got a corker of an hour coming up. Here's what's on it.
Really good. I mean, and it's absolutely testament to all the people that have been working on this. This isn't just about 2 people bringing a case. This is about a whole town coming together.
Breaking news this afternoon. Residents in Crowborough, they've applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the army base in their town. They're never consulted, and now they're fighting back. And in a moment's time, I'll speak to their local MP. And Nigel Farage and the French presidential front runner Jordan Bardella claim that they can finally stop the boats. In an historic first, Farage's Britain could finally be allowed to tow boats back to France. On today's show, I'll be joined by a top Bardella advisor.
People travelling public transport, buses, they must wear it.
If you want to wear one, then I think it's best to. And if you think you're going to make other people sick, then why would you not wear one?
Could masks be back? And backlash is growing after the public has been advised once again to wear face masks in public spaces by a senior NHS leader as a so-called super flu sweeps the nation. And we'll discuss whether face coverings should return or be chucked in the bin. And British boozers are on death row. And now a group of rogue landlords, they've sensationally banned Labour Party MPs from their boozers. I've been joined by a governor who has barred a local Labour MP. And later on today's show, I'll cross to the Reform Arms in Blackpool, the Talbot. And they say Keir Starmer is welcome to pop in for a pint any time. That's all coming up in your next hour. Well, to show, it's a pleasure to have your company. Residents in Crowborough have fought back. They've launched a judicial review against Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, today. And that is Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has been promoted, about the barracks in their town, because, of course, they've been dumped on their area, no consultation, and there's no containment around there either. Simply at the end of people's gardens. Hundreds of men wandering around a town with no voice whatsoever. The locals are fighting back. I'll be speaking to the local MP in a short while. And this falls on the day the National Audit Office has worked out that we've wasted billions of pounds on asylum. We have no idea how many people have simply disappeared into the country. And it's taking 50% of cases more than 3 years to process claims. The lunatics have once again taken over the asylum system. And today, locals in Crowborough, they've fought back. Get in touch, gbnews.com/you'll say is the way to do so. Or you can scan that QR code on your screens now if you're that way inclined. But now it's time for your news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Martin. Good evening to you. 3 minutes past 5 is the time. Our headlines. A man has been convicted of murdering a woman and her 3 children in a house fire in Bradford. Shiraz Ali killed Bryony Gawith and her children, Dennisty, Oscar and Aubrey, aged between 9 years and 22 months, in a revenge attack when Bryony's sister Antonia ended their relationship. Prosecutors said Ali, who used petrol to set the home alight in August last year, was motivated by jealousy and fuelled by drink and drugs, and had wanted to inflict maximum pain without caring who was there. His accomplice, Callum Sunderland, was found guilty on 4 counts of manslaughter for breaking into the home where Antonia had been staying. He kicked the door down.
Even with justice, nothing will ever make this right. Nothing will ever fill the silence where their laughter should be. Nothing will ever bring back our family. We will love them for the rest of our lives. We will miss them in every breath. Our heart will never be whole again. They will be forever young, forever ours, forever missed beyond words.
Residents of a town in East Sussex have applied for a judicial review against the Home Office decision to house asylum seekers at a nearby army base. The government's plan to move around 500 migrants out of hotels and into Crowborough training camp has already faced intense local resistance. A spokesperson from the town's community interest group referenced Article 6 of the European Convention on Human Rights to protect their right to a fair hearing, saying residents have been denied the opportunity to understand, scrutinise or challenge the decision-making process. Meanwhile, the 46 member states signed up to the European Convention of Human Rights have agreed to negotiate a new approach to make it easier to deport illegal migrants. Justice ministers at a meeting in Strasbourg say they intend to work together on an interpretation of the ECHR treaty and adopt a declaration in May next year. It comes after Sir Keir Starmer called for changes to how the treaty works in practice and how it's interpreted by British courts. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy, who attended the meeting, says the definition of family life should not be stretched to prevent the removal of people with no right to remain in the country. A new report from the National Audit Office shows that fewer than 1 in 10 asylum seekers whose claims are rejected are actually deported from the UK. The report is heavily critical of the Home Office monitoring system, stating that robust data gathering is not a priority and there's a culture of tolerating and working around data that's not fit for purpose. It goes on to find the Home Office has no idea how many asylum seekers have gone missing since arriving in the country. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has asked why Labour backbenchers are calling Sir Keir Starmer a caretaker Prime Minister. Well, he responded in the Commons with a defence of Labour's budget and says Ms Badenoch's the one trying to save her job. He also described Europe as strong when challenged by the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey, to stand up to Donald Trump, who's recently criticised the continent for its weakness.
President Trump's new national security strategy is a deeply alarming document. Quite apart from the irony of President Trump accusing others of trampling on basic principles of democracy, it repeats far-right tropes of civilizational erasure and threatens that the US government will cultivate resistance in Europe. No wonder Vladimir Putin has welcomed that strategy. So will the Prime Minister pick up the phone and make it clear to President Trump that any attempts to interfere with our democracy are totally unacceptable?
A British soldier killed on duty in Ukraine has been named by the Ministry of Defence as 28-year-old Lance Corporal George Hooley of the Parachute Regiment. Sir Keir Starmer paid tribute at Prime Minister's questions earlier, saying Mr Hooley was injured in a tragic accident away from the front lines while observing Ukrainian forces testing a new defensive capability. And Sophie Kinsella, the author of the best-selling Shopaholic series of novels, has died at the age of 55. The writer, whose real name was Madeline Sophie Wickham, revealed last year she'd been diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer. A statement posted to her Instagram account from her family read, "We're heartbroken to announce the passing this morning of our beloved Sophie. She died peacefully with her final days filled with her true loves, family, music, warmth, Christmas and joy." And those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 5:30.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Final look at the markets for the day. The pound buys you $1.33 and €1.14. The price of gold, £3,153.11 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 has closed trading at 9,661 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Aaron. I've got some breaking news in this past hour. Crowborough residents, they've applied for a judicial review against the Home Office's decision to house migrants at the Army base in their town. And a spokesperson from Crowborough Shield Community Interest Company told GB News this: "We can confirm that just after 2 p.m. today, on behalf of the people of Crowborough, we have issued proceedings against the Home Secretary in respect of her decision to house migrants at Crowborough Camp. And we are seeking judicial review to overturn this decision." Well, joining us now is the Conservative MP for Sussex Weald, which covers Crowborough, and the Deputy Speaker of the House, and that's Nus Garney. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company, Ms Garney. How is your reaction to today's announcement? We've had locals on from the area, and they're just absolutely appalled. They were never consulted, they never had a voice, and now they're fighting back.
I agree with the locals. I mean, I held the first public meeting in Crowborough, where we had the Home Office, Zoom in, and the Weald District Council. And it was very clear from that first meeting that the Home Office were working with the Weald District Council, and none of our concerns were addressed. Now, this isn't a regular Army bank. It's a training camp. It's already a site for the Crowborough cadets. It's an area of outstanding natural beauty. We have a Liberal Democrat and Green run council, which are very strict on any measures or any negative impact on the environment. So we always hope that the Weald District Council would raise any legal objections on planning permission and environment permissions to the Home Office, but they haven't. So the Crowborough community, through the Crowborough Shield, have fundraised and put forward, obviously, this legal action today. It's the job of the Weald District Council, but they're nowhere to be seen. And it's clear that the anxiety locally, and these are valid concerns, right? This is a site that the Home Office have to show that it is safe, legal and compliant, and they haven't. There's been no consultation. We're yet to see how the support services are going to be stood up, whether it's local health, whether it's policing, whether it's county, to do with welfare or education. So we're all in the dark, and Crowborough Shield are doing what the Crowborough community wants.
And as it's worth pointing out that Rachel Millward, she's the co-deputy leader of the Green Party. She's the deputy leader of Weald District Council. You know, the Green Party, refugees welcome, let's have open borders. She voted against it. Isn't this the point? Parliamentarians, politicians of various stripes, they all seem to think that these are decisions they can make and dump them on communities who never had a voice.
Well, you are right. Rachel Millward and James Partridge Partridge is Liberal Democrat, so our council is Green and Lib Dem. And they seem to be running two stories at the moment. One is that they obviously want to welcome asylum seekers, illegal migrants. And the second is that they will take some action. At my public meeting, which Rachel Millward and James Partridge attended, they said that they would take legal action. That was over a month ago, and they've done nothing. And this vacuum is what's creating anxiety in the community, because people want to know what's going on. But you're right. People can have this high-value views, but when they're smacked with reality and the impact that has on the community and also on precious local resources. We're a very rural area. We don't have a lot of local public services and resources to apply to help 600 men come to our community and a site that's already being used by the Crowborough Cadets, who, by the way, are now being displaced. So we're already having to make compromises for the asylum seekers to come. But you're right. I'd love to see Rachel Millward and James Partridge actually front up what they are doing as a lead planning authority, speak to you, the media. They're refusing to speak to me, by the way, the local MP, and my neighbouring MPs, and also refusing to speak with our community leaders in Crowborough as well. So this action is being taken by Crowborough Shield because Wilton District Council is refusing to stand up and represent us.
It's worth pointing out, though, of course, Ms Garney, that while in power, the Conservatives also tried similar things. Rishi Sunak, RAF Wethersfield, RAF Scampton, Linton on Ouse, and again, in all of those areas, there was huge pushback. And at the judicial review, Linton on Ouse, Rishi Sunak's government decided to back down. I went and I visited people in that area, and I had mothers crying in their kitchens. They were terrified of the notion of hundreds of men being dumped on their areas. So what I'm saying is, irrespective of politics, are these barracks just the wrong solution?
Let me just make this clear. This isn't an army barracks. It's a training camp. It's not an army barracks that is vacant. It is functioning on behalf of the Crowborough Cadets and many other young people who are interested in serving in our armed forces going forward. And we know we're struggling to get people into our armed forces. This isn't a standalone site in the middle of nowhere. It's on the edge of a forest, on the edge of a town. The level of investment that the Home Office is making into this site, because I've asked the questions, the level of investment that the Home Office is making means that this site, once the asylum, if and when the asylum seekers arrive, it'll be no cheaper to house them there per night than a hotel. So if we're talking about, is this a cheaper option? That isn't the case. Is this site, site easily adaptable? It isn't, because they're making a huge level of investment. Is it displacing local people? It is. It's displacing the Crowborough Cadets. So this site, it doesn't seem to make any sense. And it was explored by the last government, you're absolutely right, but it was rejected on the grounds it couldn't be safe, legal and compliant. So all we're asking for is the evidence to give us comfort that this is a sensible decision, and we've not had that from the Home Office or Wilton District Council.
OK. Thank you very much for your time today. I sincerely appreciate it. Conservative MP for Sussex Weald, of course, that covers the Crowborough area. Deputy Speaker of the House, Ms Garney, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Studio. Pleasure. Let's get back to the studio. I'm joined by the Labour peer and the former Minister, Lord Stephen McCabe, and also by GBNews' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. I should start with you, if I could, Lord McCabe. Nobody wants these facilities dumped in their area. The Conservatives realise that. Why can't the Labour Party realise it? People are sick of having this sort of stuff dumped on their community with no consultation whatsoever.
Well, I think it's true we're at the point where there's virtually no community in the country who are going to be happy about any proposals for housing migrants like this. I would concede that. The reality is they do have to go somewhere, and the government has a legal obligation as well. And they would be failing to comply with that if they didn't have to put them somewhere.
Why don't we stick her in Shabana Mahmood's seat or Keir Starmer's seat?
Well,
the parliamentarians think it's a good idea.
There are a number of places you can look at, but I was interested to hear Ms Garney there say it's a training centre. I mean, my understanding is this camp was used previously as a transitional camp for Afghan refugees, so it's not as if it's never been used for this purpose before, as I understand it. There is obviously an issue about the security, but it is a military camp. It's going to have 24-hour security, and my own view is if the facilities are all provided on site, then there will be very little need for the people there to venture
what you're
from
talking
the camp.
about, what you're talking about, Steve, is something more like a containment camp, something that has a fence around it where people can't move in and out of the community. people would probably welcome that. Why don't we do that?
Well, we are clearly moving towards that sort of thing. There are some legal pitfalls which the government will have to address with that. They would be subject to...
Your lot would never allow it. They'd be screaming that it's like a concentration camp.
No,
It'd never be allowed.
I'm saying that there is an argument for secure camp accommodation for the numbers we're having to deal with. It's infinitely preferable to residential hotels. I think that's painfully obvious. I'm acknowledging there are some legal pitfalls. The government, there'd be plenty of people using the Convention on Human Rights to challenge the government about that if we started to try and make them more secure. Just as actually, interestingly enough, these people are using the Convention, which everybody wants to abolish, to take their case at the moment against the camp. But look, the reality is they're going to go somewhere. If you don't want them in residential hotels all over the place, then you do have to make some provision.
How about offshore containment? I mean, at the moment, David Lammy and Lord Hermer are in Strasbourg today. They're trying to convince Strasbourg to allow something like Rwanda, but the Labour Party cancelled Rwanda.
Well, Rwanda was an exceedingly expensive scheme that managed to take 6 people who were volunteers and was a total failure. Obviously, no one in the right mind...
Get them out of the country rather than shoving at the end of people's gardens, is my point.
Well, I think you have to look at a wider range of camp options, and I'm saying secure options, if they can be offshore, if that is realistic, then I don't think anyone would object to that too. What we're going to have to try and do is recognise that you can't wish the problem away, and you can't simply say every time there's an alternate solution posed, no, not anywhere near me. But that is the predicament we're in at the moment. I mean, actually, the MP there was saying there's been no consultation. Well, there may have been a lot more consultation if the last few weeks hadn't been taken up with an argument about the cadets rather than what the security issues should be.
OK, Lord C. McCabe, we have to leave it there. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate your time as ever. Now, moving on, France's presidential frontrunner Jordan Bardella is moving to forge an alliance with the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage to restore Europe's borders. Well, this comes after the pair held talks in London yesterday. Somebody who was in London at the time, and is my next guest. It's the economic advisor to Jordan Bardella at the European Parliament, and it's my next guest now, Charles-Henri Gallois, of course, Monsieur Frexit, as you were previously called, but now you're working with Jordan Bardella. You were in London yesterday, Charles-Henri, for this historic meeting. Tell us about the potential future. It seems that both potential future leaders of France and Britain want to finally stop the boat.
Hello, Martin. Thank you. So, indeed, it was an historical meeting. I mean, very good meeting between Nigel and Jordan. We have talked about many common issues that we may have. Of course, about immigration, but we'll talk as well about energy, national sovereignty, and what we can do also to bring back growth to the continent. So it was very interesting. I think it was a very productive meeting, and we keep and we are looking forward to working together, of course. So we have talked about these topics, and one of the main topics for Nigel, of course, as you may have seen, was the small boat issue that you face through the channel. And what Jordan explained is that with Jordan Bardella at the end of the government or president, according to what happened to Marine Le Pen trial, we will definitely solve the issue, because mainly you won't have this immigration in France no more, so you won't have immigration in Calais, and you won't have immigration crossing the channel. We advocate for a double border for France, one in Europe and one in France. In Europe, you know it perfectly, Frontex doesn't do a pushback. We want Frontex to do a pushback to North African countries. And also you have all the work of the NGO that work like the taxi of migrants. They take the migrants very close to North African shores, and they take them back to Europe. And then there is a free movement on no border within Europe. They can go to France, and some go to Calais to go to the UK. So we will. Yes.
Charles-Henri, the crucial part of this proposed deal is it would allow British vessels to operate within French waters for the first time and push back to France, as opposed to picking them up like a taxi service and bringing them back to Britain. And is this not proof, Charles-Henri Gaulois, that the problem all along hasn't been international treaties, it's been a lack of political will? And more to the point, it's been the wrong president in France and it's been an ineffective Prime Minister in Britain. But with the correct political will in place, with Jordan Bardella and potentially Nigel Farage as Prime Minister, the solution could be staring us in the eyes.
Of course, because with our own, let's say, immigration policy, we want to be the hardest country and the less attractive country for massive immigration in Europe. So you won't have that many migrants in France and in Calais. And if there are some in Calais that want to cross the channel, we have to work together, not to send them back to France, but to France and then to their origin country. And I think we can have cooperation and we can have the strength of the UK and France to work together to force original countries to take back their migrants, because as they are illegal, they don't have to be in UK, they don't have to be in France, they should be back to their country.
Charles-Henri Gaulois, it really, really is fascinating stuff. And we were told that this was impossible. Maybe just there wasn't the will to do it. So that's the economic advisor to Jordan Bardella at the European Parliament, Charles-Henri Gaulois. Thank you very, very much indeed. I want to get a quick reaction from Lord Steve McCabe as you're here. You were listening into that. Here we go. A solution is on a plate with the right French president and the right political will. We could stop the boats tomorrow. The proof of the pudding is we have the wrong president in France and Keir Starmer hasn't got the guts to do a pushback.
Well, if we're having trouble with camps here, I'd like to see the French president who's going to say, I'm welcoming the British pushing their boats back to France.
That's what Jordan Bardella said.
I'd like to see how many votes he or she's going to get. I think that is cloud cuckoo land, to be perfectly blunt.
But it's a thing that many, many people watching this channel want.
I'm sure they do, but I'm telling you, there's nobody in France who's going to vote for a candidate who's arguing for that.
Well, we'll have to wait and see about that. Thank you very much, Lord Steve McCabe. Now, coming up, 13 Labour MPs have expressed support for a Liberal Democrat proposal that would require the government to start talks on forming a tailored customs union with the European Union. Here's the point. Is this a baby step back towards Brussels? Is Labour cancelling Brexit? That's next on GB News, Britain's News Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. It is 5:27. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, we've got some breaking news for you now. It's rather wonderful, I think. The former Olympic swimmer and the women's rights activist who we just had on the show a moment ago, she kept tight-lipped about this one. Of course, that's Sharon Davis. She's been nominated for a peerage by the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch. The government have confirmed. Congratulations, Sharon. She appeared on the show less than, half an hour ago. Sharon Davis, currently an MBE. Now she's been nominated to be a peer. That means she'll be Baroness.
Baroness Davis.
Baroness Davis, that's what she'd be. And I think many people watching this show will think that would be massively and richly deserved. Can I have my congratulations there to Sharon Davis, MBE, perhaps Baroness Davis. Magnificent news. Now, just a reminder that the friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. And today we're asking this question. Who is responsible for the Labour Party's tax rises? Is it the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, or does the buck stop with the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves? Let us know what you think and we'll bring you the answers before the end of the show. Now, let's get back down to a bit of Brexit, because 13 Labour MPs yesterday have expressed support for a Liberal Democrat proposal that would require the government to start talks on forming a tailored customs union with the European Union. Now, although Labour Party's manifesto rejected re-entering the EU's existing customs union, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has recently reiterated that pursuing such an arrangement is not currently our policy. Not currently, but perhaps it could be down the line. Well, let's now speak with the leader of Rejoin the EU party, Richard Morley. Richard, always a pleasure to have your company. Christmas seems to have come early for you. It seems the Liberal Democrats are hell-bent on rejoining, and perhaps now so the Labour Party.
Well, the Labour Party are certainly making sounds towards rejoining the customs union or forming a customs union, because, of course, Britain cannot join the original customs union, not being in the single market. It would have to make special arrangements. However, there is as yet still no declaration that that the Labour government will actually lead us back into the EU. And I really don't think that half measures, which is what this Labour government is suggesting here, are sufficient. So consequently, it may be a stepping stone, but I rather suspect he's under pressure to do this against his will.
So, Richard Morley, you're not convinced that this might yet be a pathway back to Brussels, but the direction of travel, the mood music, certainly seems. Don't forget, Sir Keir Starmer campaigned for 3 years for a people's vote to overturn the Brexit referendum. The mood music seems to be more akin to the mood music that might keep them happy in Brussels and Strasbourg.
Well, I mean, obviously, Keir Starmer is aware that 56% of the population consistently in virtually every poll are saying they want to rejoin the EU, not just go back into the customs union. And only 31% consistently in almost every poll are saying they want to stay out. So consequently, there is a great deal of public pressure behind this move. And of course, a lot of other MPs in other parties are also seeing the sense of igniting better relationships, if not rejoining the EU at some stage in the future. Because the economic circumstances that we're in, be they wholly caused by Brexit or not, are certainly dire enough to warrant some significant action to improve our trade, improve our performance, and certainly to improve our GDP. And joining the customs union, although some analysts say it will add 2.2% to our GDP, others can contradict that and say it's only about 0.4 or 0.5%. But certainly it would be a contribution.
I wonder if that's true. Because don't forget, the European Union has been hammered with billions of tariffs by Trump's America. We dodged £6 billion worth of tariffs ourselves. Germany's economy is sinking like a stone. Spain, France, they're not faring much better. In actual fact, Richard Morley, since Brexit, we've largely been in total alignment with the European Union. There's no proof whatsoever that leaving Brussels has harmed us, and there's little proof that rejoining would be any positive step either.
Well, there's no doubt that Europe didn't do well after Britain left. Britain was a very important member of the EU, and undoubtedly Britain's exit has done some form of economic damage to the EU. But then again, we've all suffered. Every time a valuable team member leaves a team, the team member that leaves and the team all suffer. And that's
so you're saying it's Britain's fault that Germany is going down the Swanee?
Certainly, if Britain was in the EU would be stronger. And I'm sure that many Brexiteers would applaud me for saying that. Britain is an important economic force and should be contributing towards the success of the European enterprise, for they are our neighbours. They are our largest export market. We do have an enormous number of small businesses which are suffering at the moment. We're losing around about 10% of our small businesses are closing every year because of economic difficulties, and particularly the bureaucracy, the red tape that leaving the EU and the customs union has put upon them.
And perhaps tax rises by the Labour government, perhaps national insurance rises, perhaps employment rights, perhaps actually it's not the fault of Brexit at all. Richard Morley, thank you very much for joining us, and a very, very Merry Brexit Christmas to you, sir. Let's get back to
Happy Christmas, Martin.
Absolute pleasure, mate. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. We can disagree, but we're still friends at Christmas. Nigel Nelson, let's get back to you. There's 17.4 million reasons why it'd be utterly bonkers of Keir Starmer to go anywhere near Brussels, and it's about changing your position, doing a total U-turn, and a lack of trust. Labour need to drop this sharpish.
It is too late to do this. I mean, my own view is that Brexit made us all worse off, not hugely, but
including Germany. Was that our fault?
No, I'm not even thinking about Europe. I'm thinking about Britain. I mean, it made us worse off. Inflation was a bit worse because of Brexit. These are not huge amounts, but it wasn't a disaster, but it wasn't a success either. Problem about going to the customs union is since Brexit, we've done deals with Australia, which our farmers objected to.
We'd have to undo them all.
New Zealand, we're doing one with the US at the moment, Canada, Japan, Greenland. We can't now go back on all those deals. If we join the customs union, we cannot do those free trade deals with other countries.
That's it. It's time to drop the notion. Thank you very much, Nigel Nelson. There's loads more still to come between now and 6 p.m, including this.
People travelling public transport, buses, they must wear it.
If you want to wear one, then I think it's best to. And if you think you're going to make other people sick, then why would you not wear one?
Oh, masks back. Backlash is growing after the public once again is advised to wear face coverings in public spaces by a senior NHS leader as the so-called superflu sweeps the nation. Next, we'll discuss it. Is it a bad idea, or should we chuck our masks in the bin? But for now, if you're travelling from home or from school, of course, stay safe. Here's your traffic and your travel update, and I'll see you shortly.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Motorists should be cautious on the M90 Friarton Bridge due to high winds. The M4 eastbound is disrupted between junctions 47 and 46 due to an accident. A lane is closed on the A174 westbound because of a broken down vehicle. The M56 eastbound has delays between junctions 5 and 4. In Derbyshire, expect delays on the M1 northbound between junctions 28 and 29 following a collision. An overturned vehicle on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 26 and 25 is causing a half-hour delay. And on the trains, expect disruption on the Elizabeth line at London Paddington and no trains between Par and Newquay. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Winds now slowly easing as Storm Bram moves away. Dry for most through the rest of the day, aside for some parts of central and northern Scotland. That's where we still have a strong westerly breeze, bringing in frequent showers, if not longer spells of rain heading into the afternoon and evening, particularly for parts of central and northwest Scotland. The wind staying strong until after midnight, so still the risk of 70-75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then overnight those winds coming down. Clear spells developing through the night time. Thicker cloud always to the north and west, but the best of the clear spells will be towards the southeast, where temperatures will dip to 5 or 6 Celsius first thing Thursday, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. A few mist patches here and there. Thicker cloud, though, already starting to arrive once again into Scotland for the west, bringing some spots of rain into the Western Isles. Breeze picking up again as well. Some sunshine through the Highlands as well as through the central belt. You can see, though, cloud rolling into the north and west of England, Northern Ireland and West Wales. Some sunshine there for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but we've also got an area of cloud moving up from the Channel. That will turn things grey once again across the south. And increasingly, we're going to see the cloud in the west bring outbreaks of rain to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, eventually West Wales, the far southwest of Cornwall. The breeze picking up here as well, but once again, it's a mild day for many, not quite as mild as it has been, 12, 13 Celsius in places, and still some sunshine as we end the afternoon across the Midlands, eastern England. So a few clear spells overnight in the east and Northern Ireland, seeing the skies clearing as this slow-moving weather front makes its way in from the west to the east. That's going to bring some damp weather to the east first thing Friday, brightening up later. A fine start to the weekend, unsettled later.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
It's 5:39. Welcome back. Now, this afternoon we've been asking who is responsible for the Labour Party's tax rises. Is it the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, or his Chancellor, Rachel Reeves? Well, let's get those results in now. You can see them. 61% say the blame stops at the top. Keir Starmer, the buck stops with him. A mere 39% say Rachel Reeves is responsible. Friends of GB News can vote in all of our You Decide polls for free by scanning the QR codes. Now, we've got some breaking news, and it's the former Olympic swimmer and the women's rights activist Sharon Davis, who was just on this show about half an hour ago. She's been nominated for a peerage by the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch. The government have announced. Congratulations to Sharon, who appeared on the show a short while ago. As it brings up to speed on who else is on the peerage list, I'm joined by GB News' chief political correspondent, Catherine Force. So, Catherine, as well as potentially Baroness Sharon Davis, who else is on the list?
Yes, so Kemi Badenoch nominated her, of course, for her work supporting women's rights. Also Sir John Redwood, of course, veteran former cabinet minister of the Conservatives. A few for the Lib Dems, but 25 peers from nominated by Sir Keir Starmer. And let's not forget that Labour used to talk about abolishing the House of Lords and are, in fact, abolishing about 88 life peerages. But now there's going to be 25 new Labour lords and ladies, including Matthew Doyle, who was Director of Comms for Keir Starmer till quite recently, including Katie Martin. Now, she was Chief of Staff to Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. A whole lot of other people, including Richard Walker, the founder of Iceland Foods, it's not that long ago since he was quite friendly with the Conservatives a couple of years ago. But anyway, he has been on a journey. But what this will do is, at the moment, Labour do not have a majority in the Lords. It makes it hard for them to get things done. But if they carry on at this rate, I've heard it suggested that in another couple of years they will then have a majority, and then, of course, it will make it so much easier to get stuff through.
There we go. Labour playing the Lords a leaping game. Thank you very much, Catherine Forster. Now, moving on. People with flu or with cold symptoms should be wearing masks in public. That's according to an NHS leader warning of a tidal wave of illness hitting the UK. Now, the NHS says a very nasty strain of flu has arrived earlier than usual, while Downing Street says mask wearing is something that people can consider. Well, let's now speak with the oncologist and the former director of the World Health Organization Cancer Programme, Professor Carol Sikora. Professor Sikora, thanks for your company. I was very, very keen to have you on today because I know that since the start, during COVID lockdowns, you were very outspoken about masks and how pointless they were.
Yeah. I mean, the real problem is there's no evidence base that masks do anything, either for the person wearing them or for the people around them, in terms of cutting the infection chain from the flu. And, you know, you look at this. Who's this guy that's made this announcement? A highly paid bureaucrat in the NHS. It's not the head of infection control at Imperial College or something like that. It's just one-off. There's no evidence. There's no policy. You know, lots of studies have shown, and including British studies, the Oxford Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine, for example, have shown clearly that masks have little value. You know, masks have a powerful psychology, the psychology of power, control, telling people what to do. It really is ridiculous.
Now, if people themselves want to wear masks and it makes them feel comfortable, then fine. But if we ever move towards the area, Professor Sikora, of government mandates, do you think people will comply this time?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been through it all with COVID, where, you know, certain types of masks in hospital situations were good. These were proper masks, not the sort people wear, not what we're calling masks now. They're of no effect in this sort of thing. And I think, you know, the psychology of masks is amazing. It's a visible signal. If you want to wear one, by all means wear one. It's a free country. Just do it. But, you know, don't expect others to follow when there's absolutely no scientific basis for doing so. You know, it's frightening for people that come to hospital and everyone was wearing a mask during COVID, for example. Cancer patients, my patient didn't want to show up because of it. They were too scared to go. And, you know, if there's evidence, great. But when there's no evidence at all, let's not have announcements.
OK, thank you very much for your company. As ever, that's Professor Carol Sikora. Now, let's get back to studio for an alternative view. Nigel Nelson, I take it you might disagree with Professor Sikora.
I do rather, yes. I mean, certainly the masks we were given during COVID, this is one of my leftovers from COVID, in fact, that Rachel Reeves suggested I wear something like this. These are industrial masks, FFP2. They actually cover everything up properly. As it was an airborne virus, that was the best way of actually protecting yourself. With flu actually being so serious at the moment, masks are a good idea for anybody who wants to wear them. If you don't want to wear them, that's fine.
There's a great big gap around your mask there. I can see air popping out.
Well, there shouldn't be.
As you talk. When the whole thing is performative. If you feel great wearing it, fantastic. But if the government goes down the route of mandating them, I'll put it to you, people just simply wouldn't bother complying.
No, I don't think they will. I mean, at the moment, it's advisory from the NHS because flu has arrived much earlier than normal. And we've got a strain that we're not immune to. But, of course, it's everyone's personal choice.
OK, Nigel Nelson, the mask has finally slipped. Coming up next, we'll head to the Talbot Reform UK pool in Blackpool to find out whether they will follow other landlords and ban Labour MPs from entering their boozer. But meanwhile, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's a forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heavy thundery downpours will continue to affect Cyprus as we go through tomorrow and into Friday, but this unsettled weather, it is going to ease as we head into the weekend. And actually, across many other parts around the Mediterranean, it's looking largely fine. Some decent sunshine to be had as well. Slightly different story, though, across much of Spain. A few outbreaks of rain around, and there is a band of rain sweeping in from the west, so that's going to turn things a bit wetter across Portugal and western Spain as we head towards the end of the week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So this is a lovely story because it's about a chap who bought this DB5 and he bought it for 900 quid. This is an Aston Martin DB5.
It's a lovely car.
Bought it for 900 quid. And then for 50 years, pretty much didn't do very much. He moved to the Middle East, car left was on his driveway, things happened, the local kids jumped on it and various other things, and it just decayed. He has spent pretty much the big wodge of 400 grand having it done.
Do you have a picture of this car now?
Oh, I thought as I was waffling. Well, I can hold it up. But this is how it looks now. There we go. This is how it looked then and now. I don't know which.
So he spent 400 grand on this.
400 grand. He sent it back to Aston Martin.
Oh.
To where it was made, and the reason it's worth now about $1 million is because there were only 37, I think,
39
of them made, and so it's very rare. There we go. Well done, him.
Pretty penny on that. Good for him.
Yeah. Yes, and good for him.
He hasn't made it yet.
No, he hasn't made it. It's just worth. I know. He may.
I was reading a story about a man who'd spent £1 million on a DB5, and it's now worth 500,000. But,
right,
they
OK.
hit a peak a couple of years ago, but who knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
But don't you want to spend money on a car in order to use it, not to sell it?
Well,
I mean,
he's just...
I had a car like that. I drive it.
Of course. No, then that's what... He's not selling it. He's worked hard to... He said, we've worked hard to get it
it's a work of art.
Reconditioned, and it's just... And he loves it.
I wonder, does it have machine guns and things that are going to...
Oh, no, weirdly, it says no.
Or an ejector
no ejector seat, exactly. Or any of those other things, yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
It's 5:49. You're with me, Moss and Daubney on GB News. Now, around 150 pub landlords now say they will ban Labour MPs from their venues amid a furious backlash over steep business rate hikes that they warn threatens their very survival. Let's now speak with the co-owner of the Talbot pub in Blackpool. And, of course, the Talbot is famed for being a reform pub. Welcome to the show there, my sir. Are you one of the people that would ban Sir Keir Starmer and Labour MPs from coming in?
Well, I would like to ban them. However, I can't blame all the people and all the pubs because the margins are so tight and the business rates, the minimum wage, the employees' national insurance, they're squeezing every publican, every employer. There's no water left in the sponge. Did they not realise you need employers to employees? Without an employer, there will be no employees.
But Pete Flynn, your point before, you've been on the show before, and you said actually you'd like Keir Starmer to come in for a pint. You said you'd like Kemi Badenoch to come in for a pint. You'd like Keir Starmer to come in and have a beer with you and try and sort this mess out.
Do you know what? You're 100% correct. I would love and genuinely would like to invite Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves and company to the Talbot Reform UK pub here in Blackpool, and that's a genuine invite, and I'll give them a 30-minute lesson in proper policies.
So in 13 minutes, there are a couple of jars, you're going to sort the country out, Pete.
Well, they can have the gammon and 2 duck eggs, washed down by Remainer tears. And did I just say Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves in the same paragraph as 2 duck eggs? I meant that jokingly.
Pete Flynn, we're going to have to leave it there. Magnificent stuff. It's superb. It really, really is. And just to be firm there, Nigel Nelson, they do serve a pint called Remainer Tears.
Oh, right,
It's the name of their house lager, and their best-selling dish is gammon, because, of course, they're called gammon. But look, the point of the matter is they don't want to bar Keir Starmer. Isn't this pub landlord banning Labour MPs is all a bit daft?
A bit. I mean, it's a stunt, isn't it? And I wonder, in fact, if a Labour MP they didn't know came in, how they would know he was a Labour MP in the first place, unless he announced the fact when he got there. So, actually, the best way is in fact, what we've just heard there, is you talk to them. I mean, if you've got a point to make, when a politician comes in, make that point to them.
So you think that, despite all of this, earlier on you were saying the Labour Party, they've done enough for pubs. You think they've given pubs enough good cheer? I think they're on a different planet, mate.
Yeah. Now, I just think that publicans have to get real and know that 40% relief that they've had since COVID was always going to come to an end, and their business rates were going to go up. Yeah. So it is actually being realistic about a scenario they should have known about for some time.
Again, Nigel Nelson, you've been superb today. I love our Wednesdays together, I sincerely do. But don't go anywhere. Somebody who's always worth raising a glass to. Pop your cork. For Jubes & Co, the queen of primetime debate, Michelle Dewberry, is up next. Michelle Dewberry, cheers. Over to you.
Mrs. Great show as always, Martin. So much that we need to talk about tonight, ladies and gents. Of course, I want to get into the usual stuff that you would imagine, but I also want to look at the Church of England, some of them anyway, are now suggesting that Christianity is being hijacked by the so-called far right. What do you think to that? Also, this lost generation of kids. I mean, we can hazard a guess as to who has lost them and why, but Keir Starmer reckons that he is going to be the man to bring them back to the fold and fix all of their woes. Is he or not? Grab a cuppa or something stronger. I'll see you in a minute.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. Winds now slowly easing as Storm Bram moves away. Dry for most through the rest of the day, aside for some parts of central and northern Scotland. That's where we still have a strong westerly breeze, bringing in frequent showers, if not longer spells of rain, heading into the afternoon and evening, particularly for parts of central and northwest Scotland. The wind staying strong until after midnight, so still the risk of 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and then overnight those winds coming down. Clear spells developing through the night time. Thicker cloud always to the north and west, but the best of the clear spells will be towards the southeast, where temperatures will dip to 5 or 6 Celsius first thing Thursday, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. A few mist patches here and there. Thicker cloud, though, already starting to arrive once again into Scotland for the west, bringing some spots of rain into the Western Isles. Breeze picking up again as well. Some sunshine through the Highlands as well as through the central belt. You can see, though, cloud rolling into the north and west of England, Northern Ireland and West Wales. Some sunshine there for the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, but we've also got an area of cloud moving up from the Channel. That will turn things grey once again across the south. And increasingly, we're going to see the cloud in the west bring outbreaks of rain to Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, eventually West Wales, the far southwest of Cornwall. The breeze picking up here as well, but once again, it's a mild day for many, not quite as mild as it has been, 12, 13 Celsius in places. And still some sunshine as we end the afternoon across the Midlands, eastern England. So a few clear spells overnight in the east and Northern Ireland seeing the skies clearing as this slow-moving weather front makes its way in from the west to the east. That's going to bring some damp weather to the east first thing Friday, brightening up later. A fine start to the weekend, unsettled later.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making us the fastest growing news website in the UK. We're truly humbled, and we couldn't have done it without you.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users should be cautious on the M90 Friarton Bridge due to high winds. In Greater London, the M25 anti-clockwise faces 30-minute delays between junctions 27 and 25. In Derbyshire, a collision on the M1 northbound between junctions 28 and 29 has closed 2 lanes, causing 1.5-hour delays. In Hampshire, the M27 westbound between junctions 9 and 8 has closed 2 lanes due to an incident. In Redcar and Cleveland, the A174 westbound is partially blocked by a broken-down vehicle. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question. That's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name's Patrick Christie's. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Jubes & Co. Coming up tonight, there's been a summit today looking at the